kind of going crazy. So hopefully I'll be okay. And if worst case scenario, should be able to get back before it's whatever a problem. But apparently we're live, and that was also gone live.
Excellent. Good
Great.
start.
I mean, I'm pretty public about it. Welcome everyone. We're now 4 for 4 and trying to look like a trash panda being caught going through your garbage. This is a special edition of AOS R&D. We've got a very special guest, Tyler Emerson, joining us finally. Longtime friend of the channel.
Yeah.
Welcome, Tyler. This is so awesome, man. Like, I've wanted to have you on for a really long time because before, when I had just had like a regular, like, talking head kind of channel that was very casual, you reached out to me. You were the only person who ever reached out to me, and we were going to do a podcast, and then things kind of got busy on both our ends, and
It was back in the Scrubbing Wells days.
It was, yeah. You were going to have me on an actual proper podcast, like none of this
Yep.
YouTube nonsense, like a real podcast. But yeah, so I'm super excited to have you on and to talk about some Stormcast Eternals with you, and we're joined by Erik, the Johnny's Johnny of the channel.
I'm here to learn.
He actually told me, and I maybe I shouldn't say this, but I was like we were talking about winning and losing on the channel and whatnot, and like how that affects us, and I was just like, I really don't care, like, because as long as it's a good battle report, I'm trying to make an interesting battle report, so I don't really care if I win or lose. And then Erik's like, yeah, I like losing. And I was like, you like losing? He's like, yeah, that way people underestimate me. And I was like, ooh, that's pretty sneaky. He's like, I don't care what I look like on TV. I want. Yeah. He's saving that. He's saving the real juice for tournaments. So yeah. So we got 2 Stormcast alumni. I don't know anything about Stormcast. I'm just gonna say that from the outset. I know about them from playing against them specifically.
Do you know what a Liberator is, Rob?
I know what a Liberator is, and I know what an Andrasta is.
You're doing better than a lot of people.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, like, so Rob taunts one another Rob on the channel. He's the biggest Stormcast fanboy possibly in the world. He has multiples of everything, and he truly loves them from the bottom of his heart. And he plays them. It's his main army. Doesn't matter if they win or lose. Like, you know what I mean? If they're good or bad. And so, yeah, I've been playing against Stormcast since the beginning, since AOS 1. Actually, since the first General's Handbook.
Okay.
Yeah. I think you've had Stormcast longer than you've known me, right, Erik?
Yeah, I've had Stormcast since the Star Drake came out.
Wow.
Yeah. Fiance at the time bought me the Star Drake. Like, no reason, just showed up one day with the Star Drake and went here, and I went, okay, I guess I play Stormcast Eternals now, because I had the starter set as well, but I hadn't even built anything, and then I got the dragon, and then I kind of went, okay, I guess I have this army now.
I mean, that checks out. Yeah.
Now I have a massive Stormcast army.
What a kingly gift, right?
Yeah, it was pretty good. And I played the Star Drake in tournaments. It's pretty fun.
Yes, Erik is pretty famous for taking the Reflecto Dragon back in AOS 2.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
The Star Drake, yep. I know that build. I ran it a little bit. It was a lot of fun. Underrated.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
I remember someone saying it was like had back-to-back games where someone ran 30 ghouls into me, and I took no wounds, and they all died on their attack. And then the very next game, Witch Elves did the same exact thing. 30 Witch Elves went in because they had no rend, and the rend dictated whether it was like you could take up to 3 wounds back for every save I made.
Yeah.
And so crazy. But just obliterate their whole 30 block with all their attacks with no rend.
That's right.
You were famous / possibly infamous for taking it to a tournament and just dictating at the start for some reason that you were going to put it on the line in every game. How did that go for you, Erik?
Yeah, not good. I looked at I was the gash, and I was like, looked at the list, and I was like, okay, no spell portal, sweet. I can go right on the line, no problem. Put it down on the line. He goes, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. totally. I'm doing this thing. I'm gonna put the dragon on the line every time, and he's like, okay, and he just puts the down directly across from him. I'm like, wait a second. I pull up his lip, I look, and I see spell portal. Like, no. And then the old dusty hand.
Oh no.
Came up and touched my dragon on the top of one, and I lost the game. Yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah, but you went 4-1, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, that was my only loss. That was the worst part about it.
I don't know if that was the worst part about it. Wouldn't the worst part be if you lost every game?
Well, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, fair enough. So
Sure.
we are talking Stormcast tonight, not 2.0, but 3.0 Stormcast. And what they are doing in the meta now, you know, what we think they are going to be like in the new GHB. So I've got both of those books pulled up. And we're going to kind of go through it and see what we think, see if there's any changes and recommendations, and you guys can discuss your mutual love and or hate for Annihilators. It's going to be good. It's going to be great.
Sure.
Boo.
Yeah, I didn't say specifically with Grand Hammers, but okay. So yeah, okay. So let's start at the top of the book where they put the battalions at the start of the book. I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk about the battalions in this book. Is there a good reason for that? Should we just skip this literal page and just move on, or?
Probably, yeah. I mean, there's one that gets ran periodically. You're talking about core battalions, yeah?
Yeah. Sorry,
not sub-factions, but the actual battalions.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Okay. Yeah, so there's one that you'll see periodically. I don't know, Eric, if you've ever ran it, the Redemption Brotherhood, which does allow you to do one drop right. You can do, I think, up to 6 or something units in that.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think if you're taking like a warlord or something with your heroes, and then you want to go drop otherwise and get to like a 4 or 5 drop.
Yeah.
It's something. You know?
That's actually really interesting. Yeah. So it's 3 troops minimum, but up to 6 troops total you can have.
Yeah. There. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but like a lot of stuff would theoretically fit in there, as long as it's not artillery. So I guess you could. But I guess right now, if you're going to take something like long strikes, you're not going to put it in a 1-drop. You're probably going to put it in sharpshooters.
Yeah, I think that's more likely than not. Curious to your thoughts on this, but like my guess of Stormcast this season is that more or less than not, if they're running shooting output, aka usually long strikes, they're going to go into sharpshooters. There actually is a little rule on the long strikes war scroll, which I just found out about last night. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, or Eric may know what I'm talking about. It's involving a bird. The Raptor Prime has an ether wing on his model, Rob.
Yes.
And that ether wing right now counts as a mount. So technically, you cannot put a long strikes unit with a Raptor Prime in sharpshooters right now. You could run it without the Raptor Prime. That is legal. It's a can. It's not a must to run the Raptor Prime.
I see.
But
interesting.
Because they FAQ'd it where it doesn't work for the Galatian champions, for the guys with Gryphounds.
The companions.
Yes.
Yeah, anything that has a companion, but it's not technically listed as a
it's
companion.
different, and so they need to add an additional FAQ, I think.
Wow.
I think that's probably an oversight, but
it seems pretty clearly.
It is clearly an oversight, though. Like, my allegiance is to the Great Horned Rat, as you guys can all see by my hat.
Sure.
But the thing that annoys me is that what is the difference between Jezzail and what do they call long strikes? Like
one's order and one's chaos.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know.
That's the actual answer. Like,
that's your bag.
they're the exact same thing. They have almost the same profile. They both do 2 mortal wounds on 6s to hit. Like, the long strikes are just better, but for some unknown reason, at least to me, other than it's in chaos, they're artillery, and that makes no sense whatsoever. But I guess this is just our lot in life as followers of the Horned One, the one true god of chaos. So, what do you guys think of battalions in general? What kind of battalions are you looking at in GHB Galatian champions.
Yeah. What do you think, Erik? Where's your head at so far?
I mean, I think sharpshooters with long strikes is like almost a mandatory thing.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing something crazy, but even if you're doing something crazy, you can probably find room for that. I feel like.
You thinking higher drop for your Stormcast list? Are you trying to get down to?
I think as high as it can go, because you can because of scions. I think you can play against like you can hide stuff if you need to. Yeah. So I think fine if you have to go first or second or whatever, because the way you can deploy and stuff. So I think you're better off trying to get the abilities and get the extra artifacts or whatever.
Yeah. Particularly with how good our holy commands are. I feel like, a lot of our lists are, Rob, at least a lot of my list writing with Stormcast last season, I would expect this season, it's looking at 2 holy commands every list. Usually Call for Aid is in one of those slots because it's amazing, which allows you to bring back one of your Redeemer units. It's a min-size unit, but it's, 5 more lives or whatever.
Is that when you're... Do you need a roll for that like you did in AOS 2, or it's just it comes back?
Cost you a command point, and that's it. You do need to, of course, have a hero alive on the battlefield, and then it pops out wholly within 12 of that hero, more than 9 away from the enemy.
Do you have to do it right away, or can you wait?
I believe it is right away.
Okay.
I think it happens immediately.
That's the same then. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, everyone's obviously if you have long strikes, you're taking the shoot in the hero phase one. Right, I assume, right? Like that's the first one.
That's pretty popular. Yeah, I think you're often seeing. Previously, it was 1x6 long strikes. You're often seeing now 2x3 long strikes because they made that fact right that you're no longer able to do a reinforced unit. There's some advantage. I mean, maybe we should not have had that and still have 15 bow snakes shooting in the hero phase. I'm not quite sure why we still live in that world. But...
I don't know either. Well, because they're elves, and it goes elves, and then everything else in order, and then everything else, and then destruction.
Destruction's at the bottom.
Yeah,
always at the bottom. Yeah, for sure.
Another advantage, of course, with 2x3, you can be a little more adaptable, in terms of the kind of you go, I go, or the counter attacking ability. You could hold one of those 1x3 in reserve after your opponent has, say, committed some of their shooting. So it gives you a little bit more adaptability, I think, with 2x3.
Yeah, I like to put one on the board that I can teleport around with the Relictor, and then keep one in the sky, and then you can kind of Thunderbolt volley one, and then up one in wherever you need it. And it's nice having it split up so you don't overkill as much, because you can sort of split the shots and sort of see how it is and figure it out. So I kind of like it for that too. The only thing that I don't like is not being able to teleport the 6 out of danger all at once.
Sure.
I missed it. That's the only thing about 6 that I really miss.
You can still do that in combat?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can still teleport away. You just
that's
you can
awesome.
only one. So you can only do 3. But
so sharpshooters is going to be popular, obviously, and then possibly 1-drops are always seemingly popular to a certain extent.
Sure, we'll see some 1-2 drops, Stormcast lists, maybe 3 drops with, well, no, it would be more 4 drops with sharpshooters, but in general, I would expect Stormcast to be, I'm curious your guys' sense, but my prediction for this season is that the average drop count is going to go down considerably, I think, and we were already trending in that direction. It takes so much for people, for the average drop count to be fairly high. Takes so much incentive and attraction to push against the power of the 1-drop.
Yeah.
So, but I do think Stormcast will be one of those armies that will average higher than most factions in the game. Warlord is interesting, as Erik said. Galley sharpshooters, maybe not so much the Galatian veterans with the bonds of battle fighting in 2 ranks, unless you're going hard into maybe sequitors.
Sequitors, totally.
Yeah. Maybe Hallowed Knights with Gardas, and you got a bunch.
Hallowed Knights, Gardas,
But even then, you're probably running Vindictors, and then you have the reach anyway.
You got the reach anyway.
Oh, right.
I don't know.
Huh.
Galatian Command could be interesting. Speaking of Vindictors, maybe 15 Vindictors plus Castellan with the Warding Lantern +1 save, or the Knight Azeros. There's a trick in terms of an artifact I'm sure we'll get into. A really good artifact now that almost nobody used to play that you can pop onto a Knight Azeros that gets interesting in Galatian Command, involving allowing you to strike first. So somebody comes into you, it's the Quicksilver Draft or Drought. I don't know if you've seen this, Erik.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that, but that's a good idea.
Yeah, so Galatian Command, you have that, like, let's say you use it defensively, right? You've got your 1x3 long strikes, and your opponent wants to come into them, and then you have 15 Vindictors in front. They come into you with, I don't know, 10 Hearthguard Berserkers. Maybe that's not the best. Let's say, I don't know,
Yeah.
Protectors in Stormcast, because Hearthguard could fight first.
Yeah.
Also, they're like
right?
invincible most of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
But get a chance to, you pop the artifact, you can strike first, in this case with the Azeros or the Castellan, whatever.
Yeah.
And then with Galatian Command, it immediately pulls in their Swarm Bodyguard to also
Right.
fight first for your opponent's swings.
Similar to the Skaven trick with the Deathmaster.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Yeah.
that's a good
Nice.
call.
So
Huh.
I think Galatian Command could see some play. I mean, there's been a debate in the community, right? How much is that going to see play in this new season?
Yeah.
Do you guys have a feel for that? Like, do you think we're going to see that much, or?
I mean, I think you could see it depending on like if it fits in your army already. You know, if
Right.
you've got your 3 heroes for your command entourage, and then you've got your sharpshooters, and then you go, well, what's the difference between being 7 drops or 9?
Why not? Right.
Yeah, as well do this. So I can see it showing up in those lists, which I think will be a lot of Stormcast lists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you might see it as a trio with those other 2.
Right.
Well, and I did want to point out too. So actually, I think in terms, if you're talking general armies, I think it's going to depend on the army. Like some armies are going to want it more than others. You know what I mean? And Stormcast might be one of them. I don't know, but I did want to point out earlier that like because you were asking about the 1-drop and what I got the sense of it. I don't know because like 2 of our most tournament focused and better players, and Matthias is obviously one of them. They don't worry about drops. Matthias and Dale both, they don't care about drops. They literally go for as high drops as possible. And Matthias was actually talking about how it suits him. But now Matthias is obviously playing Skaven, and Skaven care less about that, especially in his list where he's playing a bunch of Warp Lightning Cannons, and it's like, yeah, you do it, you do what you want. Like you can give me the first turn, but my cannons are going to move around and they're going to shoot you. So I don't know. I think that's going to really have to remain to be seen. Like I think we're going to have to. I want to take it. I think it's really cool, but I think unless you have a good Galatian, like I think if you're going to take Galatian Command, you want a fighty Galatian champion. Like otherwise, like, or unless you have like
Strike First or something like that can pull in.
Strike First,
Right.
exactly. That's what I was going to say. Like if they're not fighty or they don't have some ability like that where they can fight at the top, then like why? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you could see that. You could definitely see that for like even in like IDK, like even on something stupid like a Soul Scryer. I mean, you're not going to put it on him. You're going to put it on the Soul Render, and then that way, you know, it's like third turn. It's like, yeah, charge me. Cool.
Yeah.
That's great. And I've got 20 thralls right next to me, which no longer suck because bounty hunters is no longer a thing. But I don't know about Stormcast. Like, are there some good fighting? I mean, obviously, but Bastion is not he's a named character, so you can't use him. Like,
even Bastion doesn't really fight. I mean, his maximum damage is 16 if you roll perfectly.
Erik needs one more attack, I think. Just give us one more attack, and that would even out the average. Yeah, because he is a little too hit and miss right now. Yeah.
Wow.
Every single hero of that size in the book, I think, is just like a little not. They need like 1 or 2 more attacks. All of them, Prime, Andrasta. I think
that early book syndrome that Stormcast is perpetually stuck at because they keep getting the starter boxes or whatever. Yeah.
So a few thoughts come to mind on what you said. I mean, in terms of fighty heroes, not really. I mean, the Azeros is really interesting. We're going to probably mention that Knight Azeros a lot. We have on the show in recent weeks. He absolutely stands out for a host of reasons. I think there's a number of combo plays, directions you can go in, whether it's Stubborn as a Rhinox, you have him flying around 12 inches. He could auto run 6 for 18 inches, plus the 9-inch from the Light of Sigmar to shine his light on an enemy unit, get +1 a hit. for all of your Stormcast attacks against that unit in combat. I mean, that's a 27-inch threat range to deliver the lightest Sigmar where you want. He's really good at zipping around, helping out in terms of these Galatian champion ordered missions, right? You're not relying on a teleport because it's so fast built in. But in general, I played a game the other day last week against Slaves of Darkness, and there was one Exalted Hero of Chaos in that list who was the most chattiest of chads that I've ever seen in this. What he did to me, it was a crime. How violent I was in that game. He did 7 damage to a Blight Lord. He then nuked my Great Unclean One. He didn't have, all of his wounds, but he had a decent number of wounds left. He then goes and charges 11 inches, and then kills 5 Plague Bearers, 4 Plague Bearers. Then he fights in the hero phase and basically nearly finishes off the rest of the. It was just nuts. He fought 4 times.
What?
In the hero phase that game. It's like, oh, okay. I think I need to take this whole hero phase fighting a little more seriously.
Yeah. Especially because you can't all out defense, and you don't have some of the tools that you're used to having. Is he that slappy? I haven't encountered him yet.
I mean, he shouldn't be, but he can get there.
Yeah.
So
if he's getting Eye of the Gods and he gets the right buffs, if he gets the Ren. If he just gets it once, it's 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, Ren 2 damage.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty.
And then is he and then can't you could roll again on the Eye of the Gods and
yeah, you can keep stacking it up and
each time you kill a hero or monster or you control an effective.
So he kind of snowballs.
He can. Yeah.
Wow. Or you can. I see. Wow, that's pretty cool. Okay.
So, I mean, that might be one of the better examples of but I mean, there are a number of Galatian champions, maybe not necessarily in Stormcast, but it just, as a general thought, it really gave me a whole new level of appreciation of what could be possible with just the hero face fighting with a good Galatian champion.
Well, and if they have a good sworn bodyguard, because like the Deathmaster, he's not good. He doesn't have, like on average, unless you get really lucky on those 6s, he's not killing another Galatian champion, and he's not killing a bodyguard unit unless they're already low on health, and or you get really, really lucky, right? So I think for him it's all about the Storm Vermin. Now, Matthias and I tried out Storm Vermin. We tried out this combo like way before, right after the GHB leaked. We tried out that combo and we both didn't like it. Like he stopped me. I was trying to use like my the only Seraphon I have painted, essentially. It was like a practice game we were gonna do that the next day if it kind of worked out, and he wanted to try out Storm Vermin. But like the Storm Vermin are fighty for sure, but they don't stick around, and they're kind of just a little bit too expensive for like what they do. Like they're so easy to remove, like 4 up save, 1 wound each, like, and low bravery. So if it's Night Haunt, there's so many worries that you have to deal with. I actually, there were the one part of the list that didn't work for him was that combo. But like, does that combo exist in Stormcast? Like, even if you don't,
the Galatian command.
Yeah, like what would you take with the
first thing that comes to my mind would be obviously 10 Protectors, which I've played them a lot over the last season.
Are the Protectors the guy with the broadswords, essentially?
With the glaives.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So generally I think the best build is you have 6 with glaives, 4 with Star Soul maces. Okay. So Star Soul mace, they get 1 base attack on a 2 up. It does D3 mortal wounds.
Oh, wow.
But you can take the Unleash Thy Hatred Holy Command, which will give them +1 attack for their melee profile. So that suddenly takes those Star Souls to 8 attacks, and the glaives to 6 attacks, 6 times 6, 36 attacks +1 for the champ. 37 attacks.
Whoa.
3s and 3s at worst, depending on debuffs. -2 Ren, 1 damage, and then 8 Star Souls, which could be up to 8 times. It could be up to 24 mortal wounds if you max it.
Whoa.
So they get really insane, and they're the most durable unit, arguably in the entire book. So I never understood why people didn't play them more. They are rock stars, that unit. Now, they would be an amazing Galatian command unit.
Did they not come down recently, or not recently, but quote unquote Like,
Rob, they deserve to come down 5 points. So they,
is that it?
underperforming. They got the little 5-point tick down.
But no, but I meant before that. Remember there was like a data, not data slate. What's it called? The War Scroll. Battle Scroll. Thank you. I can't goofy lingo.
I don't book here.
So they're 220. They used to be 225. They're 220 in the latest.
Right.
Yeah, 220 for 5.
220 for 5. But I mean, that's a wombo combo if I ever heard it.
Yeah, I mean, the other factor, Erik, one thing I found interesting, playing them a lot last season, we had more average objectives on the battlefield.
We did
like
way
6
more.
to the nest, right? 8 objectives, close to the chest, 6 objectives. You had to be very careful about where you place them because they're only moving 4 inches, generally speaking, once they're on the battlefield. So your opponent could potentially just move away from them. But now with these new missions, we're playing on fewer objectives, less board space on average.
Yeah.
In my game so far with Stormcast and Timber Protectors, I've been finding it that it's a lot easier for me to force my opponent to essentially have to deal with them.
Yeah.
Like I put them in the middle of Jaws of Galat, which is generally the best position to then adapt to what happens with objectives being removed. I throw them into my opponent's face early on position over power with the 2 flank objectives.
Yeah.
Where now they're in their grill and like, what are you going to do about Timber Protectors quickly in your face with like +3, +4 safe stack? There's a lot of that going on.
Now, sorry. Well,
I was going to say that I think 15 Vindictors could be another interesting one to consider in Galatian Command.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll hear about that. I've thought about that, actually.
Yeah.
So, because you can double reinforce them because they're battle line.
Right.
And then if you give them that Holy Command for +1 attack, you're getting more value out of it? Is that the idea?
That's only on Paladins, but you could potentially do the Realm Command for +1 attack, or someone that we haven't seen on the table too much, but I really like in some ways is Vandus Hammerhand.
I know, that's what I was. I've been looking at because he's gotten so cheap.
Erik was talking about this.
Really good buff, and it's free command ability. He just gives it out. That's the best part.
It's just an ability. Yeah, it's not a command ability.
Wait, so what does the ability do for those of us who don't know what you guys are talking about? What's that?
Sorry, buff on attack to a Redeemer unit.
Oh, shoot. So so what we're talking about here isn't the Galatian command. It's just because he's on a mount, I believe.
Sure.
Yeah. And he's unique, exactly. But interesting. So +1 attack, here you go. Don't have to pay for this. Wow. That seems really strong.
He has a Holy Within 24 Battle Shock immunity bubble.
What?
I know that.
Wait, what? Is that a command ability or?
No, it's again just an ability.
I
know the general consensus has been Battle Shock doesn't matter a whole lot, but
less with Stormcast, but
it can.
Well, when you've got more guys, when you're double reinforcing, you can lose more guys, and then they can actually have to worry about it. And Nighthaunt's out there. There's a bunch of stuff out there where
Nighthaunt,
Horghast,
Archaeon.
Oh god, the most powerful ability on that War Scroll is Archaeon turning off Inspiring Presence and Rally. It's so powerful.
Wow.
In that huge hole, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. Well, those are some interesting thoughts. I had one more thing. So going off what you guys were saying earlier, pick a hero, any hero. It doesn't seem to matter too much, but maybe there's a better, like a Knight Azeros or whatever. And then you give him it was an artifact where you fight at the start of the combat phase, right?
Yeah, Quicksilver Draft.
And then you have the Holy Command for +1 attack, and you put it on that unit, right? Then on the one with the 2 flank objectives, or even some of the ones where there's one in the middle, against a melee army, you shoot them down from the heavens, right? Together, and then come at me, bro. Like,
Sure.
What do you do? Like, what do you do against that if you're a melee army? Like,
Yeah.
You better hope you have sharpshooters.
The Lord Castellan can be another nice one. I mean, now it is Holy Within 6, so that is one of the limitations with Galatian Command. You have to both have the hero and Galatian Command in combat within 3, and then Holy Within 6 of its Sworn Bodyguard, and then of course the Bodyguard in combat. So you may, it requires some setup
for sure
and put in place. But it may not always be able to execute it, but I think it's certainly a combo that we're going to see.
Huh. Not only that, it's fun. Like, that's such a great fun thing to do.
Cool.
and you can give him like the aspect of the champion to get up or even to teleport. I think that's going to be, I think that's something that, like, I mean, I'm getting ahead of it a little bit here, but like, I think that's one of the most important kind of things that Stormcast specifically has. I mean, everyone has access to the tunneler aspect of the champion where they can teleport once per game, but Stormcast have access to that as it does everyone else, but then they also have access to the prayer, which allows you to teleport. And I think that's going to be really important in this one. Like any kind of teleportation that doesn't rely on a spell in particular, I think is going to be really strong.
Yeah.
Because you can just, you know what I mean? You can, there's nothing you can do about it. Like if you can, and I mean, and I know Erik was playing, you were playing the 2-up rerollable prayer to teleport.
Yeah, I mean, that happens, you know.
Yeah, you just like, this is going to happen unless I get really, really unlucky right now.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's going to be really strong. Okay, so we have talked about battalions. Is there anything else you guys want to mention about battalions before we move on?
No.
Okay. If something comes back, it's totally cool. But I don't think that they're. Has anything evolved in terms of their allegiance abilities or traits? Like, because like we haven't, most people haven't touched on Stormcast since the original. Oh, hi Robin, good to have you. Thanks for catching us live. We love to have you. Is there anything like, because most people haven't talked about, you know, Stormcast since like all these changes have happened. Like you guys were just talking about Vandus Hammerhand, who's just like criminally cheap now, right? But like, you know, and like a lot of the things have been touched on, but like, has anything evolved in terms of the base premise of the army, which is their traits and their allegiance abilities?
Yeah. One thing that comes to mind. So of course we just got out of a season with Expert Conquerors.
Yep.
Where we were able to count as more models with a lot of our units, which lessened the value of Stormkeep, particularly when you add in bounty hunters, of course, which further lessened the value of Stormkeep. Now that both of those are gone, I think we're going to see some people try to make Stormkeep work again. Stormkeep, the primary selling point on that one is your, what are they, Redeemer units? I think it is Redeemer keyword, maybe Erik?
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Keyword.
Okay. Yeah, so Redeemer keyword units, which are your Liberators, Vanquishers, Sequitors, Vindictors, they count as, one model counts as 3 models. For rounds 1 and 2, they count as 3 models per one on objectives that are partially within or wholly within your territory. And then starting round 3, it's all of the objectives on the battlefield.
Wow.
I mean, that, I don't know. I feel like if you build a Stormkeep army, probably with Gardas.
Yeah, it's gonna.
I mean, it's right, and Hallowed Knights, because that really gives you all the additional leverage you would want, unless you go Vandus, which I think there's some potential interesting play there in Hammers of Sigmar.
Yeah.
Then you add some mobility around that, you know, those solid units as your base.
Okay. So
what's that?
Sorry.
I think cats maybe would be a good option.
Maybe, yeah. Cats are interesting now. Yeah.
Yeah.
The cats are, what are they called again?
Evocators on Celestial Draculine.
Thank you. Like, I was not getting. I mean, you can just say
kitty caters, I believe they're called.
That's right. Indeed. That old chestnut. We forgot about that. So wait, sorry. So the advantage is to taking. Was it Scions that they're called?
Stormkeep.
Stormkeep. Okay, sorry. Stormkeep is that they can count on multiple. They count as more on objectives. And that's very powerful, like you were saying. But then what's the downside to taking them?
Erik, what are your thoughts on the downsides of Stormkeep?
I mean, the whole army moves like 4 or 5. That's you've got the teleport. I think it's going to be hard to set screens. So I think you probably don't play screens. I think you probably play anvils. Is how I see that playing out, probably. Because you can't really position. Because I use Scions a lot to position Liberator screens. That's kind of the main reason Scions is for that. And then the other thing I think is not being able to hide your heroes against sharpshooters in this GHB. Because like if Gardas goes down top of one, like that sort of seems bad to me.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Is Gardas the one that gives you plus to charge?
I mean, a Galatian champion anyway, so he could always be shot. But
that's true.
Mm-hmm.
But
Gardas, primarily Gardas is there for the 5+ ward bubble, wholly within 12 of him.
Whoa.
Yeah. Really good for Stormcast because they have no mortal wound protection whatsoever.
Right, unless you're in hammers, and then you have to be in the right spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, 5+ that's such a huge difference to 6+. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Twice as good.
That's true. But like if I'm rolling 6s, you know, like if like my if I'm playing Castelli, you know, and I'm like I just took so many wounds, like I took like 4 too many, like I'm gonna die, and then I can roll my 6s, but you're not like, there's no twinkle in your eye of hope when you're rolling for 6s, right? But 5s is such a big difference. Like 5s, I'm like, I've rolled this many 5+. Like I've done that before, you know.
I mean, in answer to your question, Rob, I don't think a whole lot has changed. I'm more mentioning Stormkeep just mostly for the fact of mentioning it, and I do think it's an interesting challenge, and it's a different way to play the army that's largely been off the table. So I'm hoping that we do see some good players try to make it work. Because it's interesting, and we just haven't seen it much on the table. But the default is still going to be Signs of the Storm, as Erik is alluding to. It just provides so much flexibility. It's how the army has always played and generally wants to play. So.
Yeah, and you can't run Annihilators at all in Stormkeep, so maybe Stormkeep is actually the way to go.
There you go. best point of the night so far.
Yeah, that's fair. So now
In fact, I'm going to play Stormkeep the next time I play on the channel. Like, that's my pledge to the viewers is that I will not play Annihilators and I'll play Stormkeep.
You know, Dale, I think, was playing Stormkeep early on, but I can't remember if it was at the start of that last GHB or what, and it didn't really, he wanted to make it work in like a tournament setting, but
and everybody got that ability for free, and
and it was way better because it was like, you could do it with like mass infantry. So you guys have mentioned what's it called, Hallowed Knights, a couple of times now. I don't remember what they do. I'm gonna try and pull it up.
They have Gardas is what they do.
They have what?
Essentially.
Yeah, the Gardas has their keyword. That's what they do.
Oh, I see. So like, if you want to bring Gardas,
his ward save is only for Hallowed Knights units.
Oh, got it. Okay. So
the other thing, I mean, the actual self-action ability, Rob, is when a Redeemer model dies within 1 inch of an enemy unit.
3 inches.
Is it 3 inches?
Yeah, okay. I just found it right now. A Redeemer model is slain within 3 inches of any enemy units. Roll a dice on a 4+. That model can fight before it's removed from play. That's so good, especially considering it does get to fight. I mean, it's not insane. I'm not saying it's insane, but it's better now that Strike and Fade happens like after.
After,
right?
Yes. Yeah. I kind of wish we were like.
Spite Rider Lancer that can then come back immediately to life.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Wait, what was that? What's that combo?
What's that?
So I didn't hear everything you said there.
Oh, sorry. I'm just saying, so you can kill 1 extra Spite Rider Lancer when your guys die, and then it can immediately come back to life on the Sylvaneth player's turn, and it will have made no difference.
Question: are the sword guys, are they Redeemer units?
Yes.
Vanquishers.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
And then if you pop the Holy Command, does that happen at the start of the combat phase?
Yes.
So they would get that when they die too, right?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, again, it's still a 50-50 shot whether you're even going to get to do it. So you could just roll all 1s and 3s as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
that I don't like about it is the 4-up. I mean,
Yes, yeah.
Early book, Eric. Early book.
Also
man.
not elves. Also not elves.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
they're not.
Xanthar Kai.
Yeah, they're not a Cobra Kai. So
everybody else that gets that ability, it just gets it. But no, time don't get it at all.
That's true. Although this is like you could argue that this is somewhat more reliable than like a spell, because like if I'm going up against some kind of spell dom, I mean, I guess you got your own spell dom in Thanquil, but Thanquil's he's getting up there for points. Anyway, that's a whole other.
I'd say if it wasn't for Gardas, I wouldn't play Hallowed Knights.
Really? Okay. Well, on that note,
since there is Gardas, it is nice to have the fighting a 4-up.
Now, does Gardas just give that out, or is it a command ability?
I think it's
the 5-up ward.
Yeah.
It's just built in. Yeah,
so you don't need to take turn 1 for that to be a thing.
No.
Nope.
Oh, okay. That's so much better. Like, it's not like even if you're getting it reliably with the what's that, the Warsong Revenant, with your 3 dice and blah blah. Yeah. Keith, we're on Monday today because we have our eminent guest Tyler, and as with Vince, we had to do it a day early, but it has actually worked out really well because I can't do the podcast tomorrow anyway, so this worked out really well. But yeah, so the 5-up is just, you always get that. You don't even have like it's pretty reliable with the Warsong Revenant, 3 dice re-rolling or whatever, like you can make it that way, but man, in when you just get it from the thing, you don't need to worry about taking the first turn or
Oh, you're talking about the 5-up ward. You mean Lady of Vines is Lady of Vines is the one that gives the 5-up ward.
Oh, sorry, Lady of Vines. You're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. So even if you can make it quite reliable with her, but it's still like this is better. I don't know how much does he cost for points?
He did go up. I think he's 170 now is what I've got in my head.
That's so like, I mean, like
he was too cheap previously, I would say.
But like Lady of Vines, you're paying more. You're paying like 300 points for her. I mean, she does other things, obviously.
As a summon, and it's a different.
Totally. Yeah. It's a totally different thing. It's true. But like, you can't really compare them. They're apples to oranges. But like, wow, that's super awesome. Yes, Tyler does rock. I've known this since the beginning, Keith. Since before he was on Hammer. I almost called you Hammer Time. Since you were on.
What's the name of your super popular show?
What's the name of the most popular podcast about Age of Sigmar? Yeah. Oh, right.
Wednesday Warhammers is what I've heard it called by some Canadians. Wednesday Warhammers.
What?
Taylor and Vincent.
That's not. I won't go there. That we do not call it that. And there's another whinging podcast that we may or may not refer to as that, but it's not weekly.
170 for Gardas.
170. That's pretty good. Yeah. Eric's got a great attitude, and that's why he won. Would you won Best Sportsman or whatever they call that?
Something like that.
He went 4-1, and he won Best Sportsman, and we did a podcast about it.
I think it is something like that.
Yeah.
Voted best.
He was also voted Best Mustache, but he trimmed it down since then. So okay, so Hallowed Knights is obviously somewhat popular for Gardas, etc. But what are some? I'm on the page already. So what are some of the other Stormkeeps? Obviously, hammers are very popular because of just the 6-up ward, as long as you're within 12 inches of an objective. So. Now, it should be pointed out again that there are less objectives this season, so it's not as easy to be in that bubble. I mean, it's a big-ass bubble, though, from, like, those objectives, right?
Yeah, wholly within 12, the center point. Erik, you got any Snowflake sub-faction?
I mean, I really like Warbringer, but I don't know. I mean, I like it on Night Judicators, but, like, not this season, I think. Is kind of I'm coming down on that.
So just to read it out for people who are listening and painting, Celestial Warbringers, once per phase, you can reroll 1 hit roll or 1 wound roll for an attack made by a friendly Celestial Warbringer unit, or 1 save roll for an attack that targets a Celestial Warbringer unit. So that's everything. That's your
And I just think because like the whole army has good saves, good hit rolls, good wound rolls, that you're probably rolling that into a success. So it's effectively like +1 attack a lot of the time, or like -3 damage if you're taking the 3 damage attack back, and you get that turn, and that's both turns, both player turns.
Wow.
So I feel like there's like just raw value there, where it's not like a synergy thing. It's just your army is like 3% better.
Yeah, and you can do that.
Yeah.
So you can do well, principally it comes into play with the save roll, but it can happen. It happens every phase. It can happen every phase, including your opponent's phase, right? So shooting phase, hero phase, yeah. I've amen to everything you're saying, man. I've played Warbringers a lot as the special sauce snowflake choice, and it's undervalued in general, I think. Like it doesn't jump off the page, but when you play it a fair amount and you build around it with your list, you gave the example like -3 rend, 6 damage. Well, if I'm just going to reroll that on a unit of protectors and I saved it, just avoided 6 damage. Long strikes, it's great with them. Give you a reroll on one of those hits. Celestine Prime, another special sauce choice I've been running a lot in Stormcast lists, which generally is considered a mortal sin almost to run Celestine Prime in a Stormcast list. He's always ran as an ally, but not in Stormcast. He loves Celestial Warbringers because anything you can do to babysit him, because God knows he needs it, it adds up a lot.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. I think the only thing about it is that then you don't have a ward save at all in the whole army.
Yes, that's the downside.
Interesting.
That's why I put myself going back to hammers, because 6-up is just better than nothing.
Yeah.
And so I feel like when the rubber meets the road, I end up at hammers, but I really Warbringers, and I feel like it's good.
Yeah,
I could
defense better than offense a lot of the time, and I think that's the only reason I think I would probably end up on hammers. But I like it. I think it's cool.
Can you re-roll the Celestine Prime's ward save?
No.
No.
It's a save roll, hit roll, or wound roll.
But isn't a ward save a kind of save roll?
Short answer is no.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
They're different.
Yeah. I don't normally have armies with good word saves.
It's a different categorization.
For sure. Okay. I just thought I'd check because that was something.
Well, with his thing where he can set the die as well every turn, so he can do 2 things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
another one worth mentioning, Rob, that may come into play a little bit more this season and did a little bit last year is Knights Excelsior.
Okay, before we move on to that, I had one question. What about running, what if you're really into dragons and you wanted to run Celestial Warbringers? Would that be a good idea? Because, there's so much value. Defensively, you're quite strong because of your movement with using dragons. And then if you are re-rolling your hit rolls, because most of their attacks are fairly high value, I would say. What about using Celestial Warbringers if you're running dragons and that sort of thing? What do you guys think about that?
I don't think it's the worst option. It doesn't strike me as the best option.
Fair.
Again, coming back to what Erik said, the principle of when the rubber meets the road, it's usually Hammers of Sigmar is your answer.
Yes.
Except in special circumstances over Warbringers. And Erik, any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I like it in for sniper type things, people that are hitting 2, right? And the one just wrecks your whole plan, right? So
got it.
Stuff like that.
Now, what about when you're let's say rolling your I don't think this works, but I'm just going to check with you guys, see what you think. If you are using dragons and you are using Celestial Warbringers, you couldn't re-roll your flame attack, right? Because that's not a shooting attack. It doesn't have a hit or wound roll. It's more like an ability, right?
Yeah, it doesn't. It would need to have a 2-hit roll. It is. I believe it does have a shooting profile.
It does have a shooting profile, but I don't think it has a 2-hit.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. It was worth a shot. Okay, sorry. I didn't want to derail us, but I didn't want to forget.
Not in the 2-hit and the specific.
Right. It doesn't seem to work in the same way that the ward save thing didn't work. Okay, so enough of me trying to bend the rules. Knights Excelsior, you say. Okay, so I'll read out their thing real quick if you don't mind, just so everyone's on the same page. Once per turn at the start of the combat phase, you can pick one friendly Knights Excelsior Paladin unit on the battlefield until the end of that phase. When you pick that unit to fight, pick one enemy unit within 1 inch of it. If the number of models in that unit is greater than the numbers in the paladin unit, add 1 to hit and wound rolls for attacks made by a paladin unit that target. Whoa, until the end of that phase.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems really good.
Pretty good.
Because you're improving your odds on hit and wound rolls by 16%, and you're very rarely do they.
Right.
That's only for paladin units. So what is a paladin unit? What's covered there?
Yeah. So the old school paladins, you have retributors,
Yeah.
protectors, and decimators.
Okay.
Decimators are the axes that do, give you more attacks, and based on the number of models in a unit. We've already talked about protectors, and then the retributors have the big hammers. Modified 6s to hit are 2 mortal wounds, not in addition. They put out a lot of damage, and they just got a fair amount cheaper. I think they're interesting. They're very playable this season. And then of course new paladins are the Annihilators, shields, or grand hammers. we officially have an opinion on them. Yeah. I think the shields might be. Maybe we can talk more about the shields later. I think they might be a sleeper pick.
Yeah, I think my problem with Annihilators is I haven't been running enough. Actually, I think I've been hedging too far, and I think you just all in. And but we can talk about that when we get there.
Yeah, Knights Excelsior with so if you have, there's no rule of 3 here, so you could take whatever you want. Like you could take.
Yeah, they're battle line and Knights Excelsior.
Whoa, that's crazy. So you don't have to waste anything on garbage that you don't want. You could or can you beam them down in Knights Excelsior?
Yeah.
So you have the hammer jerks or with the shields popping down onto objectives, and you're like, come at me, bro. Right? And then you've got the other guys with the hammers who are going to really do the damage, maybe?
Yeah, I haven't been building any list Knights Excelsior for a little while, but I could see them being viable. And again, an interesting off-meta choice if someone wants a cool talent.
Protectors are pretty good. I don't think it's great for Grand Hammer Annihilators because they already wound on 2s.
Oh, right.
And
Less
you
value.
can give them +1 to hit in a million different ways in Stormcast. So, it's fine. And there's also the spell for +1 to wound. So I feel like unless you need the battle line slots, then I don't think the ability is it seems really good. But then when you sort of think about what buffs you have available already and what your stats are already, it's okay.
That's interesting.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, the fact that generally, I think most of us are expecting to see more models this season. Bigger units. The bounty hunters alone going away. So, even like the example of 10 protectors, they could be facing a number of armies that have 20 plus models in a unit. So the fact that you could potentially have a number of engagements over the course of a combat phase and generally a game, right, where you are not limited by all that attack or whatever, and you're still getting some built-in benefits. I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But it's not the obvious direction, but I think it is playable. It's probably, in my mind, the most compelling option for Andrasta, who has generally been unintriguing to me, unfortunately. I love the model, but she just has not been interesting at all. The fact she could potentially bring back 3 wound to pop models in a Knights Excelsior army is kind of cool.
Now, I thought she was hard-locked to hammers. Does it not matter?
Oh, that's a good point.
I think that she's factionless, but the weird thing about Andrasta is that she's also not a knight or a lord, so she can't issue holy commands.
Oh.
Which is kind of weird.
Yeah, that's weird. Super weird.
Let's look here.
That also seems like an oversight.
Like Bastion's a lord. Like some of the other special guys are lords, but Andrasta's neither a knight or a lord, and you specifically need a knight or a lord.
Oh.
Yeah, that is weird. She is not, good call, Erik. She is not locked to Hammers of Sigmar or anything. And so, she could use her, once per turn in your hero phase, the unit is on the battlefield, you can turn 1 slain model to each friendly Stormcast unit with a wound characteristic of 3 or less, wholly within 12.
That's so strong.
2 10-packs of protectors with the Andrasta sounds horrifying.
It sounds horrifying.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's cool.
Wow.
It's the only thing I could think of that would make her playable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you could try it in that Stormkeep, right? Lots of Redeemers, etc. But yeah, I find Excelsior a little more intriguing with her.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't think that there are less monsters running around right now. Although, like, some things she isn't going to help with. Like I feel like the monster truck in Ogres is like, we're going to see at least one of those in most lists. Like, it's just a really strong, it has access to a really great monstrous action. And if she just puts that thing down to its lowest bracket, then you know what I mean? Although the weird thing is so her ability to do that, does she pick a monster and put them down to their lowest bracket, or is it just that happens?
If any enemy monsters are within 3 inches of this unit, add 10 to the number of wounds suffered by those monsters when determining their damage table. So yeah, any.
Okay, so this turns out to be this turns out to be you're buffing specifically, like this actually goes against her if she's fighting manglers, because they get better on their bottom bracket when they suffer damage. It's the most messed up thing I've ever heard or thought of. They're like they're hitting on like 3s on their top profile, and on their bottom profile they're hitting on like 2s or something. They get like way better.
Yeah, you get fired up.
Yeah, exactly. That's so funny though. I mean, I'm not like I'm with you guys. Like, she's got a great model, and it's great to look for things. But I was just like, I'm just going through the Gits thing because I'm super excited for them. But oh man, anyway, I really like that, and yeah, I mean, I would love to see like a bunch of paladins. Maybe that's what you could do, Erik, next time you're on the. No, okay.
I don't have any of the old paladins. I only have the new ones that look better than they are. Let's put it out.
But what about the shield guys? Oh, you don't have retributors and stuff like that?
Nope. No, I sold protectors, and then I never had any of the other ones. I haven't run protectors at all.
Protectors are the ones with the big glaives, right?
Yeah.
They used to be where you would get like, it was like -1 to hit if you shot at them or anything behind them.
Yeah, they used to have weird intercept rules and whatever. They've had some weird rules.
Yeah.
But I just didn't get paladins because I was running extremists, so I just didn't run them up. I've been running fulminators since they came out, and that's just always been my hammer in Stormcast.
Sure, right.
Those guys have always been good.
Yeah, still good.
They really have, yeah.
That's the other reason for hammers, is it eats up battle line slot. Nice.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a great That's a great idea. I mean, not that we're supposed to be talking about for Stormcast, but Keith was saying he had Scarbrand in his army against, and he would just run at Andrasta because he also gets better on his on his bottom profile. So she's just running away from him the whole game, and he's just running around after. That's hilarious. What do you guys? Sorry, Robin, I haven't been focusing on the chat quite as much as I normally do. What do you guys think about Draculines? Robin Mankiller was asking.
So Draculines, they are a lot more intriguing now than they used to be. They got a point drop.
40 points they're 40 points down according to Keith.
Yeah.
Okay. So evocators, 240. Yeah, that's right. They used to be, I think, 280.
Wow.
So 240, you've got 3 models, 15 wounds. They are a wizard. They can cast a spell to provide +1 to wound and melee. Maybe shooting? You might be able to do that again.
3 up save?
3 up base save. No. 4 up base save. That's one of the issues with them. They're 4 up base.
Yeah.
They do put out a decent number of attacks. Now, they are only -1 red, so that's another potential issue. Of course, I think they get 3 dice per model for their lightning attack at the end of the combat phase, and every 4 up is a mortal wound. So you'll pop off, 4 or so mortal wounds from that. I like them as a potential challenger if you're looking at running 2 fulminators. Right? Just 2. I think they could be an interesting alternative to 2 fulminators, or, certainly concussors. But they're not an obvious take. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think they're not replacing the punch of 4 fulminators.
Sure.
But the wizard thing is cool, and the mortal wounds are nice, and they're fast.
Oh,
Rerolling move 12.
And And movement 12. Okay, and then do they?
And then if with the Lord Arcanum on
Griff Charger or Lord Arcanum on Draculine.
Draculine, then you can get +1 back to the claws, I think.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, to the yep.
And they don't unbind, right?
They do it.
Oh shoot, that's actually huge.
Look.
This unit is with just
that unit is a wizard.
Unbind on the enemy hero phase. Yep.
And then what if could you not like? Wouldn't they be like a decent way of having a mobile endless spellcaster where you could like run up the battlefield and then
can't cast it. They can only cast their War Scroll spell.
Oh, okay. But they do get. I mean, if they even just anyone who gets a dispel, I think is so great.
Mm.
You know, like if you're fighting against Skaven or any one of the plethora of different armies that are going to have a lot of casts, they can just kind of be like, they get a lot for free when you just have a lot of casters on the field. Whereas if you have a lot of unbinds, like I was noticing, like people were always complaining about the Swamp Call of Shaman, and the reason that I liked him, even though he was just handing out poison and not casting a spell before, was he got an unbind, and I was just like, I just need more unbinds. I always find I don't have enough unbinds, and that's really, I think that's super valuable. Okay.
So another thing with them, and this would apply to 10 evocators, which I think are on the menu now, whereas they were not previously. They are both able to benefit from Laoshan, the Soul Seeker.
Right.
You can fit 10 evocators or 3 Draculines. I'm not sure if you can do 6 Draculines, but so that gives you, if we're just talking about the 3 Draculines, right, one of the more amazing threat ranges.
But wait, if they can't cast an endless spell, how do they interact with Laoshan?
Somebody next to them, I guess.
So yeah, you could have someone else.
I thought that was only the caster in the new season.
Oh, maybe.
I didn't.
Lunchbox before.
Yeah, I started making one for my Skaven, and then I made it on the wrong base size, and I regret that.
No, yeah, you can have, say, an Incantor cast Laoshan, and then have the Draculines use Laoshan.
Oh, okay, cool. I could have sworn it was only the caster. That's really dope.
No, not seeing any player. Yeah, it just says pick one friendly wizard wholly within 3 of the endless spell.
Oh, sweet. That's amazing.
So Laoshan is a setup of 6, and then moves 18 and can fly, and then the Draculine, so you dump them out, right? And then they can move another 12 inches. Like you can get them about anywhere you want on the battlefield.
Wow.
Yep.
That's strong. And it says pick another wizard. Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, there's some play there, man. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something there. I'd be interested to see people pull some funky stuff with that.
Their spell, I checked. Redeemer, the Empower spell does buff pick one friendly Redeemer or Sacrosanct unit, and it buffs shooting or melee. So, dare I say, Castigators who have gotten cheaper. I think I'm interested in at least trying them this year. Castigators are now 3 for 90 points.
Yeah, I like them at 105. I thought they were good.
They're interesting.
Which one are Castigators? Sorry.
Sure, Castigators are one of the 2 Sacrosanct shooting units, the other being the Celestine Ballista.
They're the crossbow guys.
The crossbow ones, yeah. They came in units of 3 that we haven't seen on the table in a long time.
The naming conventions for Stormcast are brutal to me. Like they all sound the same. It's just faux Latin all the way down. Robin says thank you for the deep dive on the Kiddicators, guys. There's some funky stuff there. Okay, are there any other chambers that you guys think are cool?
Not especially.
Cool.
I mean, if you're running a lot of dragons, you could run Tempest Lords. I would still just probably go Hammers of Sigmar, as Erik said, for the 6-up ward.
Okay. Tempest Lords being when you attempt to charge with a friendly Tempest Lord unit that can fly, you can reroll one of the dice in the charge. Well, rerolling one dice is so much better than rerolling both. That's awesome. Yeah, and then that way they get in when they need to. Now the dragons move in the hero phase. That's once per game now.
Do they still move in the hero phase?
Or do they just get rid of that completely?
I think they got rid of that.
I think they got rid.
That's pretty fair.
There were many. That's That's why I don't have dragons anymore.
Oh man. Yeah.
I believe they took that away. Yeah.
Oh man.
I think they changed it to reroll charge, I believe.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. So if you get 2 bad dice, you re-roll them both, and then if you get 1 bad dice, then you just re-roll it in Tempest Lords, and you're just super.
It's not bad.
Yeah. That's
It's
a
good
cool
for
combo.
all dragons. Consider it.
Yeah, absolutely, because they all fly, so it just works across the board. Okay. Cool.
Astral Templars, if you're really worried about monsters, it's just too matchup dependent, particularly I think in this season. And I just don't think it's valuable enough.
In the first season,
there will be a time for Astral Templars, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's waiting, but I think it'll have a time.
And you might have a new book by then, but we'll see, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, then why don't we move back to battle. I'm gonna find the command traits got cut off for some reason.
You might as well just General's Handbook anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're all coming out of the main book.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that right? There's still no. I mean, that's actually kind of important. Okay, actually, here, why don't we talk about if that's the case, why don't we talk about the General's Handbook, the new command traits and or artifacts? Are there any there that you guys really like? Like, obviously, the 5-up ward one on one champion is a pretty good artifact for your like good save, fairly high wound count Stormcast Galatian champions.
Yeah, it's not bad. The artifacts. Sorry, I didn't mean to be dismissive. I don't think it's
no. It wasn't that. It wasn't that, Tyler. It was Keith said it doesn't matter, Rob. If they got cut off, they're bad. So don't worry about it.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't expect to see many Stormcast players pulling from the GHB artifacts. They're fine. We just I don't think we quite. We have other better options. We have other uses for our enhancement slots. If we're taking an extra enhancement, we're not taking a second artifact, all else equal. We're taking a second holy command, or maybe a second aspect of the champion. Aspects of the champion are intriguing.
Okay.
There are a number of options there.
I'll pull up the aspects of the champion here. They were a lot more blurry. I took it straight from the app apparently. So
one thought that I could see with the GHB artifacts real quickly is Tusk Helm.
Okay.
The one that when you charge, you roll a number of dice equal to your charge value. So if you get an 8 on charge, roll 4 dice. You roll 8 dice, and every 4-up is a mortal wound.
Yep.
That might be interesting as part of a combo damage play with like a Storm Strike Chariot, right? Where you run again an Azeros.
Oh.
Because the Azeros has a 12-inch base move.
Yeah.
Chariot 12-inch base move, right? And you do some combo damage, mortal wound impact hits. I think that could be kind of interesting. But
yeah, that's funky.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're getting 1 free holy command anyway. So if you don't have long strikes, then maybe you're going, you know what? Like I'll try out this Tusk Helm or something like that. Yeah, I can see that for sure. Now, if the Knight Azeros is running around, what's up, Sean? Welcome. If he's running around, you're running with the Chariot never has battle line, so he's not protected from shooting, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, but it depends on the army you're running him against,
Yeah, I think people won't have shooting if it's not in sharpshooters. Is my feeling on shooting.
That's interesting.
Like, I think if you're going to take shooting, you should be taking it in sharpshooters, and if you can't, it better be like an Iron Blaster or something, like
something good. Yeah, Warp Lightning Cannon.
Yeah, although I did think that a really hilarious combination to take in Stormcast this season would be to take 3 Celestar Ballistas and then a Knight Judicator, and then give him the 3 command ability thing so that he can buff all the ballistas, and then you can have a little shooting battery, and then you actually get shooting out of your buff hero instead of the stupid Lord Ordinator that just stands there.
Oh, I see. So you do the aspect of the champion where you can issue 3.
Yeah, but they're all heroes and artillery, so they can't go in sharpshooters.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
Horrible combination, but I think it's funny.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah, I just don't think they still get there. They're too expensive, the ballistas. I tried them out when they were being ran a lot in 2018, and it was literally the worst experience I've ever had in trying to make a Stormcast unit work. They hung out, right, and they don't move much. If you roll, just inefficiencies all over the place. I found with that unit.
I painted 3 of them and a Lord Ordinator, and I was like so excited, and I tried them a million different ways, and they don't work.
Yeah,
Damn.
I never got that back in 2018, much less here in 2023. So yeah.
For the Annihilators, 2018 for me.
I just love this. It's a bit at this point. Fantastic.
Rip Ballista. Yeah, they're added to the Erik's wall of not heroes.
Yeah.
He's carved them down underneath or above Annihilators with grand hammers.
So the aspects, right? Erik, is anything that stand out for you with the aspects?
I mean, I just think the 3 command thing is always good. All at defense 3 times is amazing.
Yeah.
I also like actually it with long strikes, so you can get your 2 units. I'll have the +1 to hit.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Or you could also do unleash hell 3 times.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah, I mean they're all they all have a use. I can see taking them.
I could honestly see taking like a warlord battalion and I just think Tunnel Master is it's just so obviously good when you want to start a Galatian champion. Like one of the easiest and best battle tactics to do for every army is cunning maneuver.
Cunning maneuver, yeah.
And so when you can just be like, there's nothing you can do. I get it. Like I get it this turn, and you like it's so sure, right?
Well, it's in my head real quickly, Rob.
Yeah.
So one thing that I found in my games, which was confirmed by my friend Sean Sayer, a really good player. He used to play Legions of the First Prince a lot. He's playing a lot of Slaves of Darkness still. So I think a lot of games, round 1, you're looking at 2 battle tactics to get Desecrate the Land or Cunning Maneuver.
Yeah.
Unless you have unless you're blessed, #blessed, and you've got a battle tome with some easy like Slaves of Darkness round 1 battle tactic. But not all of us are blessed.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're looking at those 2, right? Well, if your opponent actually goes first and they can zone out Desecrate their land, and let's say you're playing in Jaws of Galat, which only has 1 objective that meets the requirement. Well, 1, let's say, viable objective that meets the requirement of getting Cunning Maneuver. Your opponent could get on that objective, essentially deny Cunning Maneuver, zone out Desecrate their land, and you might be, out of luck in getting a battle tactic round 1. So I think it's one of those reasons there's more intrigue in my mind around going first than ever this season.
Totally.
That plus a number of these missions, 2 in particular, Jaws of Galat and Ours for the Taking, have value in terms of counter deploying your opponent because of the way that the deployments are. See where your opponent goes with their 1-drop, and you can really counter deploy on those missions especially. So anyway, just wanted to throw that in there.
That's interesting, and it's so strong, and like Stormcast already have the ability to do 1 hero to teleport, but you don't it goes, it's even better than a rerollable 2-up because it just happens. Like there's nothing you can do about it.
Tunnel Master, in my mind, will be the predominant go-to for the aspect of the champion.
I actually think it will. Yeah, I'm not saying that leadership isn't better in certain armies. I actually think it is better, but it's just so easy, and you know what I mean? It's like the one to beat. Like it's like if you need a plan with leadership of the alpha. Like you need to have something, but you don't need any plan for Tunnel Master. You're just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go over here now, and
Yeah,
Fueled by Garish Rage is pretty good.
Yes.
If you have heroes that are linchpin heroes that are critical to winning the game.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like a Chaos Sorcerer Lord General in a Kabbalist's list type thing.
For sure.
Specifically.
But
But stuff like that, those like really important 5-wound heroes that are super easy to kill, and if there's sharpshooters around, maybe you need your guy to be alive just for turn 1.
Mm-hmm.
You can survive long strikes with that.
Right.
Which is nice.
Yeah. Now, the Curseling, is he a named character?
No.
I don't believe so.
Not anymore, right?
He used to be, but he's not anymore.
And he's super. Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought, right? So he is, and he's pretty linchpin in Zeech, right?
I believe so. Yeah,
something like
a lot of lists.
Something like him, right?
Yeah.
Or your engineer who's like surrounded by warp lightning cannon. Anyway, we're supposed to be talking about Stormcast.
Yeah.
I love talking about all these things, but like, sorry.
The fact that Gurish Rage, as Erik is conveying, it would allow you to ignore the rest of the damage.
Yeah.
So that could potentially
and
turn
heal.
off.
So you end up on 1 and you heal D3. So you could end up on 4.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Oh, I thought you just healed D3. So.
Well, it negates the wound that would take off your last wound. So you're on 1, and then you heal 3. Right?
Oh,
is that how that? I'd have to look at. Is that how that works?
I'll read it out. I've got it right here. Once per battle, before you allocate a wound or mortal wound to this Galatian champion, and that you're right. So it's before, and that wound or mortal wound would cause it to be slain.
On a 3-up, it's negated, and
you're
then you heal.
Right. I missed that.
Even whatever you're on, if you're on 3 wounds, and then you're going to take a 4 damage thing, you allocate 3 of the wounds, and then when you allocate the 4th one,
right,
you make the save it. You're alive on 1 wound, and then you.
Dude, we missed that in our battle report when you killed my necromancer.
Oh right.
Yeah, I just rolled it. I got like a 3 or 4. I got 2 wounds back. That's so funny. I mean, he was gonna die anyway, but. Wow. Okay, that's even better then. So maybe you put this on because it says once per battle before you allocate a wound or mortal wound.
Yeah, interesting.
So the minimum that they're on is 2. The most they're on is 4. Yeah. So maybe you put it on Lantern guy, whatever his name is.
Lord Castellan.
Because he's so linchpin, like handing out that +1 save.
Now here's a question: do you still take Mirror Shield?
I haven't read it in a long time, man.
I haven't, but like I wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder.
I don't think you do in this GHB.
So. Well, it depends. I thought it also depends on what missions you're playing, right? Like if you're playing the one with the flank objective, and you need to get over there, and you didn't take Tunnel Master, and then maybe you need that teleport guy to be alive.
It is interesting, yeah.
Now
I'll have to think more about that. I don't hate that thought. Yeah, it hadn't occurred to me, Erik, that there might actually be some consideration with Mirror Shield. Only the worthy, right? With that mission, if you can, prevent your hero from just getting shut off, that's notable. And the flank objective one, there might be something there.
If that teleport really important to you, then maybe it's worth it.
So now, just to speak out loud, I think I understand everything you guys are saying. Mirror Shield, I believe, is the artifact in the Stormcast book that makes it so unless you're within 9 inches, you can't shoot them. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, specifically, you cannot be targeted by missile attacks. Or is it called out missile attacks, or is it just cannot be targeted?
I think you can't be targeted in the shooting phase, maybe.
In the shooting phase, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just limited. Yeah, some weights to shooting. Command traits, artifacts. Mirror Shield. The bearer cannot be picked as a target of a shooting attack unless the attacking unit is within 9 inches of the bearer. Okay.
That's even better because it gets around like nonsense where they can't see you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, they just can't. Yeah, it gets around like Sentinels or whatever. Or I guess they.
Or the old Sentinels, or it would get around. Actually, I don't know if Stormfiends with the wind launchers can still shoot out of line of sight. I think they can, but
I believe so.
Right.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Okay. So then.
No, that's a good shout. Yeah, it's interesting. I'll have to think more about that.
It's very interesting. Yeah.
So Tunnel Master definitely in general see a lot of play, and
with
Stormcast, there's a number of combinations you can think about that Tunnel Master can turn on. So let's see, what would be one? Lord Relictor with Tunnel Master, to where, you translocate a unit, and then you have the Lord Relictor Tunnel Master to follow that unit, so that the unit is set up to be translocated back.
Cool.
And you don't have to skip a turn. It's like, there's these various combinations you can look at. You could look at, say, translocating an Incantor to a spot. Yeah,
So
translocating.
Translocate is the prayer, right?
Is the prayer. Yeah,
Okay.
the teleportation prayer.
Okay.
So you translocate an Incantor, let's say, to a spot that's outside of bind range of your opponent to cast a key spell, and then in the movement phase, you Tunnel Master that Incantor to then get it out of harm's way, or somewhere else on the battlefield. So I think same thing, same principle with like a Knight Zephyros, who has a built-in teleport.
Right.
You don't even have to have Tunnel Master with a Knight Zephyros. You could just translocate it and then move it, out of harm's way in your move phase.
Well, and there's other battle tactics too. One is where you have to have 2 heroes on a specific
Right.
objective, and then there's another one where you have to have, what is it, like 2 different ones on separate ones? I can't remember. Not in your zone.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Two
like
different
this
objectives.
combo of Tunnel Master and or the prayer would be a quite reliable way of getting 2 objectives that are really hard for most armies, like almost impossible.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really cool. Okay, that actually gives me ideas for Skaven too, because you can teleport yourself with a spell. It's more risky, of course, because like the spell is like you need it to go off, but you could be outside of a bind range. There's different plays for that. Okay. Yeah. Fascinating. Okay, and then I guess those are the main ones. Stubborn as a Rhinox is not as popular, I don't think.
I mean, that's what I'm running in my list for
really?
What it's worth. I do really like it. Yeah. Okay. But again, keyword bingo. Keep saying the Azeros. I just think he's so incredible this season that the ability to, put an 18-inch up to an 18-inch move model somewhere on the battlefield, counting as 10 models.
Yeah.
Quite awesome with an elite army.
Wow.
Yeah.
18.
The Stormcast struggles with that, with scoring, right? So I think
right.
Especially on somebody flying like that, I think you're
right. That's come up in a lot of my games. Usually he's on the battlefield. Well, not always on the battlefield. I actually, more often than not, I've had him off the battlefield in the latest list, and so he could potentially drop down, and then in a key spot count as 10. But yeah, just a lot of utility, I think.
So what I'm hearing is these are all good in Stormcast.
Yeah. I mean, Stormcast heroes are all kind of good. So I think the Stormcast are in a good spot in this season.
Yeah.
Because they have all their heroes that you want to take are all kind of those kind of heroes anyway, and they have good saves and they're good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, even if you're retreating, he's still moving 12 inches then, I assume?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's so many different ways of making that work.
Mm-hmm.
I still like Tunnel Master. I can't help it. Like, it's just so easy. But, like, I can see the argument for if you get another enhancement of picking any of these.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lantern Shiny Guy fueled by Gurish Rage, Knight of Zeros counts as 10 models. Pick another hero, Leadership of the Alpha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, and you could even get like 2 Warlord battalions in Stormcast theoretically and have another one on here.
Sure.
If you wanted.
Yeah, I don't know if you'll ever. I mean, you don't see that many lists that would run 6 heroes.
No, I do have a list though with 6 heroes.
Okay, I'm excited.
If you run a Star Drake and then 5 Wizards, so they all get the +1.
Oh, okay.
And then have like an artillery battery of Mortal Wounds.
Interesting.
With Chain Lightning and Lightning Blast and et cetera. The shooting attack from the Star Drake.
Got the Comet in there. Everybody's Comet.
Comet's in for sure. You got your your Burning Head, a few other things.
That's pretty cool.
And then you take the trait for the -1 to the unbinds. Your +1 to cast, -1 to be unbound.
Absolutely.
Damn.
There's a list in there. I'm not sure it's like winning you Adepticon or anything, but like
sure.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
It might win you a game,
Yeah.
Erik has some really great ideas. Like I've never seen
that's a cool one.
like that.
Yeah. Great idea.
yeah. I remember he had another great idea, and it was running a bunch of Annihilators with Grand Hammers.
Genius.
And then he was like, I want to redeem myself on the channel. And then I was like, oh, but is it okay if because I planned this for a Patreon video? He's like, that's fine. And then it went way worse because
there's like so much worse.
But Andy brought his Cancer Tempest Eyeless, so that's like a whole other he brought his ultra shooting just mix of evilness that Andy is so known for locally. No, I'm just kidding. Andy's a lovely guy. So what we are looking at then in terms of I think we've covered aspects of the champion quite well. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong PDF. So what about you mentioned the mirror shield. Are there any not new, but are there any artifacts in here that you guys like that you are taking other than the mirror shield?
I mean, we've talked about the Quicksilver draft a lot. That's the one that already, that stands out. Beyond that, maybe Drake's scale armor. You'll see that every once in a while you can reroll save rolls for attacks made with weapons that have damage characteristic of 2 or more that target the bear. They did fact to clarify that it has to be a flat damage characteristic.
Yeah.
D3 or whatever does not count.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Wait, but it's 2 or more. So if it's 3 or I see. But if it's D6, that doesn't work either, right?
No.
Oh,
well,
wow.
what D3 plus 3? I wonder. Right?
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. No, because that's more than 2.
It is more, no matter what.
Yeah, totally.
Maybe, I don't know.
The new.
Look at it. I doubt it, but yeah, that's a good question.
The new Dankhold Trogoth has a damage characteristic of 3 plus D3.
Yeah, it's the same as that, like the Iron Blaster, right?
Yeah.
I would guess they would just roll it that because part of it has a random damage characteristic, it would not apply. But I mean, technically they have not answered that.
That would be dirty pool to me because it is 3 plus D3. There's never a time where it's not more than 2. But
Sure.
but nothing would surprise me at this point. They're not dark. They're not Daughters of Cain. So
yeah,
we really don't know what they're gonna roll.
Take this if you're taking a Star Drake.
Right.
I think. I think that's when you take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that.
Got a lot of wounds, and so you're making a lot of saves.
Yeah, that's re-rolling saves is
with the command trait, the Master Celestial Menagerie for the -1 to wound.
Right.
Then you're -1 to wound, re-rolling saves. You can start chucking Mystic Shield on and Lantern, and you can kind of make the Star Drake really hard to kill. And then you can take the mount trait for -1 to hit as well.
Wow.
What's that? Light of the Young Stars. Yeah, on a 3-up, subtract 1 from hit rolls. So you can make the enemy -1 to hit, -1 to wound. You get +2 save, reroll saves. It's pretty hard to kill.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially if it's a linchpin of your army.
And then you have him standing there with a bunch of wizards behind him blasting everybody. Yeah.
Hey, that sounds freaking awesome, actually. Keith says you should run it in a battle report. Erik, dare we hope?
Good.
That would be so fun.
Yeah, my it'll be the latest of my many humiliations.
You're right. It's so
the
cool.
Only other...
Sorry.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say it's so awesome when people the thing that people usually want to see is something different. People don't usually enjoy people watching the meta list run ad nauseum, and that's something we can always count on you. So.
Absolutely. I was just gonna say the only other artifact that comes to mind, Luckstone, but it's another off meta pick. If you're trying to be cheeky, you can have a good hero like say a Knight Draconis with Luckstone, who could be deployed off the battlefield and come in and auto guarantee a charge. Do an auto 12-inch charge with a Draconis, for example. Maybe you have a Celestine Prime as well, so 2 pieces auto guaranteeing 12-inch charges. It's cool, but it's not going to see much play. But yeah, it's not terrible.
I like it. I think it's dope, actually. I mean. I don't think it's my first pick, but it's probably it seems like a good pick if you're picking from the book for a second pick for an enhancement, or an artifact, I should say.
it's like one of those things where it almost gets there with the Knight Venator with the Star Faded Arrow until you realize it's still Rend 1.
Right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
You're like, well, I'm using a lot of effort and capital here for Rend 1.
That's fair. Yeah, you might want to just have the one drop. We didn't talk about. I know we're not going to talk about. We're not going to talk about command traits from Stormcast Eternals. But what command traits are you guys usually taking for your Stormcast Eternals?
I mean, for the most part, there's one and only answer.
Master Magic.
High Priest.
Oh, High Priest.
Yeah.
Right.
You get the teleport, because like the teleport to me is critical to the way the army plays. Like it's just part of it. It's almost like an allegiance ability, you know. So like
totally.
I think it just needs to work, which is why it takes High Priest, because then you get +1 to the prayer for taking a Lord Relictor. So that's why everyone takes the Lord, and then it makes it a 2-up rerollable. And it makes it so you can count on it for, making your army work.
Yeah, that's so strong. Like a reroll of a prayer. Does anyone have a reroll of a prayer in the entire game other than like in terms of like that it becomes? I mean, I know it's a general thing, but I mean like is it such a linchpin for any other army where it's like an auto take?
There's not one that's coming to mind. I'm sure there's one out there. Because
like Fire Slayers lists that require.
Oh, very good call. Okay, because I only know the priests that I have access to, and most of them are just running the general stuff. Like obviously there's Pestilence, but like their prayers aren't anything great anyway. So it's another chance at getting the. I mean, there is the battle tactic, but I won't go into Skaven again because I'll go down a gnaw hole of nonsense. Exactly. Yeah. Keith was saying it's more interesting to see variety instead of cookie cutter on repeat for battle reports. Absolutely. Okay. So spell lores. By the way, that is a really good call. So now, are you always taking the priest with the rerollable prayer? Are you ever taking another commander, or are you always? I mean, in this meta, it feels like it's more useful than ever before. But like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It's been years since I've not taken a Relictor. Literally been years. Since
wow.
I have that, except for the dragon list. The dragons, the general.
Got it.
That's the only list I don't put it in.
So in that case, it's what, like? Well,
it's the dragon with the Master of the Celestial Menagerie for -1 to wound against.
Oh right, that's the only good command. I mean,
trait? You could run shock and awe for -1 to hit on the turn you're set up if you're running, Annihilators and
I see. Now the if this general is a monster and on the battlefield, so it has to be a monster. So does that only apply to?
It's actually behemoths. They used to be monsters, but then everyone realized that the entire dragon army was monsters, and so making it wound the entire dragon army.
Right. I remember that. That was horrible and horrifying.
It's behemoths only, so it's Stardrake, Karzai, and Krondys.
Yeah.
Got it.
Are the benefit, but I think you can run. You might be able to do a double dragon list, like Karzai and a Stardrake.
Oh, that'd be so freaking awesome.
Praetors or something, So they're just dragons. That kind of seems like maybe you can make that work.
Yeah, dude, I'm big fans, especially of Karazai, but I think Krondys has a lot of play now as well at 550, which, when we get into talking about some of these War Scrolls, I mean, there's a deeper bench than ever with Stormcast right now. Like, if people are willing to push themselves to get outside of their 6 long strike, 4 fulminator comfort zone. I apologize, Erik, if I'm calling you out here.
That's what I play, and then and everything else that I take fails.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, I get it. But there are so many options. I mean, it's a good time to play the army if you're willing to, kind of test things. But absolutely, the other one that comes to mind is Knight Draconis with Dragon List. You'll sometimes see the Knight Draconis as a general because it makes the dragons, I believe, battle line. And then Knight Draconis, it'll be like Master of Magic is pretty popular with Arcane Tome, and then Flaming Weapon because it bumps up the damage output on the Knight Draconis, or gives you a reroll for Mystic Shield, that sort of thing.
Totally, that's a good call. Okay, So I guess we'll move on to the spell lore. Is there anything interesting here that we should talk about?
I think it's all good. I think
Wow.
like 5 I think are good.
Wow.
Yeah, it's good spell lore.
I'm not so sure about Starfall, but
Okay.
it's okay.
What's your first pick then?
Probably Celestial Blades +1 to wound because I'm running Fulminators, so +1 to wound on Fulminators is just always good.
That's godlike, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's just a simple buff. Yeah, I like that one.
Okay.
Yeah, that one is in, I'd say, the majority of the list. Celestial Blades, that's the first go-to in general. Another one you'll see periodically, Thundershock.
Yeah.
It's cast value of 6, range of 12 or 18 if you're a Lord or Draconith keyword, Draconith keyword. And you roll a dice for each enemy unit within that range, and that's visible. And on a 3+, that enemy unit is -1 to their wound rolls. That's just wound rolls until your next hero phase. Yeah, I mean, I've had that in some games where it's hit, 5-6 units until my next hero phase, which could last, for multiple turns. If you give up like the next round, it's quite good.
I like it on the Lord Castellan with Arcane Tome.
Mm-hmm.
You give him Arcane Tome, and then because he's a Lord, he's getting it on 18.
Yeah.
And then he's sort of like giving you +1 save and -1 to be wounded. Makes him and he has 8 wounds on a 3-up. Like, it just makes him an incredibly valuable little hero.
Okay, 100%. What about this? You teleport him in using the prayer.
Mm-hmm.
He blasts everyone, and then Tunnel Master's back, and then he's out of there.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I love it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a great example.
I like that spell a lot.
That's an amazing spell. Like, that's so
especially
good.
That's why I was running in that game. That's why I ran the Lord Exorcist, even though he's not good, but he's a Lord, and he can do Thundershock at 18, so he's worth 20 extra points or whatever.
Damn.
In my mind.
I wonder why the hell he was in your list. That's good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, he was painted, and I like the model, so that was
fair enough. That's a cool model.
That is a limitation of doing battle reports in general. The people don't like when you don't paint your models. I researched a few things before I started the channel, and that was definitely one of them. It was like, come on, man. Anyway, okay. So then prayers. Obviously, we've got the teleportation one. Is there anything else worth mentioning here?
The problem is that they're actually all really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Support is so critical. The other ones get looked over, but I think with the Knight Relictor coming down, maybe you take 2 priests in some lists.
Oh. Cool.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if Blessed Weapons or Divine Light are good enough.
So range of 12 or 18 if it's a Lord. Pick 1 enemy unit within range and visible to the Chanter. You can reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks that target that unit. So you could throw that down, and then all of your long strikes.
Yeah, or I'm thinking also in a Hallowed Knights with Gardas and Vindictors that are proccing mortals on 6s.
Yes.
And you can reroll 1s.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Or maybe with Vandus, and then you get an extra attack and you're rerolling 1s.
Goodness.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, I place to make Divine Light cool, just because there's lots of things that proc on 6s.
Absolutely. That's amazing. Okay. And then there's only 3 of them total, right? They're hard to read.
Yeah, and then Blessed Weapons is the other one. It's exploding 6s.
Cool.
Which on Fulminators with damage 3, it's just good.
Mm-hmm.
Or anything. There's like quite a few. Like even on Draculines, even on dragons. Like there's a lot of like high value sort of targets for that. I feel like in Stormcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And then mount traits are the only thing left, I think, before we highlight a few more scrolls.
Yeah, we've mentioned Scintillating Trail. That one really stands out. For subtract 1 from binding rolls or any wizards for spells cast by friendly Stormcast wizards wholly within 12 of this unit.
That's so cool.
So it's the equivalent of a +1 to cast on top of, as Erik mentioned, the Star Drakes +1 to cast. And Drakesworn Templar, Erik, that gives that as well, right? The +1 to cast bubble, Drakesworn Templar, the cheaper one.
Yes.
Thinking he does it as well.
He does, but he has a 4-up save and his 400.
He's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 4-up save. Like, it's just like, nope, next.
Yep.
Fair enough.
The Celestial Instincts is pretty cool. The unit can retreat and still either shoot or charge in the same turn. So that can be handy.
Sorry, which one is that?
Celestial Instincts. The unit can retreat and still either shoot or charge.
Wow, yeah. Okay.
You'll see that sometimes on a Star Drake, definitely on a Knight Draconis. It's a pretty popular pick.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anything else?
Yeah, Erik mentioned Light of the Young Stars. I'm not a huge fan of the 3-up required for that one, but I mean it is a nice benefit if you're feeling lucky.
Do an unkillable Star Drake, you probably run it.
Oh, okay.
So, but Celestial Instincts is probably better on a Star Drake anyway.
Pick one enemy unit within 1 inch and roll a dice on a 3-up. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks. Yeah, that's really good. So you could theoretically combo that into like -1 to hit, and you can't use, like, if you have another monster nearby, they can roar them, and then that's just, they become unreliable for most units in the game. I like that. I do think, like, if I'm not doing Erik's awesome wombo combo, I think I'm probably doing just retreat and still shoot or charge. Like it's such a powerful mechanic. You can like bottom of the turn charge in, and then possibly leave the combat and charge somewhere else in the next turn to grab an objective or just to get in somewhere else. Like, you're so much more mobile. It's going to go on something that's flying probably. So yeah, that just seems strong.
Back in the day, you used to do it with Knight Heraldor and a Star Drake, because the Knight Heraldor would allow you to retreat and still charge. And it was amazing. So yeah, this definitely would still be quite good. One that I was looking at when I was thinking about dragons, I never played lots of dragons, but is Thunderous Presence. I actually have not seen this one. Erik, have you ever tried this one, Thunderous Presence?
I haven't run. I don't have Draconiths, so I don't have
Gotcha.
At all. I only have the big dragons.
So it's Draconith only. That is, it would be the Knight Draconis. You would in particular be putting this on. You can choose this ability instead of carrying out a Monstrous Rampage. So it's an alternate Monstrous Rampage. Pick one enemy unit within 1 inch of this unit. Roll a dice on a 3+. That unit cannot receive commands in the following Battle Shock phase. So if you do a lot of damage to decent sized unit, you could potentially make a horde unit entirely run away.
So that's only on the small dragons without wings?
Specifically, this would go on to a Knight Draconis.
Okay, so like that's the same, like it's the same model essentially as Vanda's Hammerhand, but only it's the non-named version, I guess.
No, they're the actual dragons. Like
it's the dragon.
Oh,
it's not the big.
Got it. It's like it's the really big dragon.
No,
not Krondus, not Karazai, but the
dragon hero.
Oh, got it. Oh, I'm sorry.
Storm Drake Guard dragon hero.
Got it.
We'll get there. We'll get there, Rob.
Man, we'll see. Yeah, I probably need to try harder. But oh man, these names, man. Okay, they couldn't just call them dragons,
Sure.
It's got to be some weird, goofy, non-copyrightable thing. Okay, so is that? Oh, Holy Commands.
We should probably talk Holy Commands. I mean, we talked about them.
We talked about them, but not about them. Yeah. Okay. So Unleash. Which one is it? The
Unleash Thy Hatred. Yeah, you're gonna see that most often with Protectors. You might see it on a unit of Retributors. If someone's getting cheeky, running 5 Retributors, maybe 10 Retributors and Galatian Veterans with Bonds of Battle, where they could all swing because they're only 1 inch reach. I mean, that's a terrifying unit. Like,
it is.
I've played against one of our guys. He lives, I think he's Fort Leonard Wood, and he comes down to Springfield, Missouri to play. And he's been running Knights Excelsior. So, he will put like 2x5 Retributors and some Annihilators and just like Paladins, right?
Yeah.
It's mostly just Paladins and heroes. And it's it's scary. Like
Yeah.
what that kind of list can do against you. It base 3 up across the entire army, Mystic Shield, a Castellan +1 save. You can do some save stacking. Everybody mostly plays the Protectors historically because of the built-in +1 save.
Yeah.
But the Retributors, they don't have that, but they are terrifying, the damage they can do.
And
So
if
yeah,
can
you give
get
them.
the +1 save anyway, then
Right, exactly.
Wow.
So yeah, I think Unleash Thy Hatred is really good. The one we have not mentioned too, Final Thunderstrike.
That's
Doesn't get played a whole lot.
Alex said, "Sell me on Final Thunderstrike."
Yeah, that's a tough one. Eric, you got any,
yeah.
you got anything in your bag?
Your
Yeah.
commission's not high enough for that.
yeah, I just don't like abilities that are based on losing already.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
That's an interesting thought. Okay, so here, just so people, in case people are listening, once per battle, the command can only be issued by a friendly knight or a unit wholly within 12 inches of them, or by a friendly lord or draconess to a unit wholly within 18 inches of them. That unit that receives the command must be a friendly Stormcast Eternals unit. Until the end of that phase, add 1-2 rolls for Blaze of Glory when a model from the unit is slain. So what that means is, for everyone at home, when you roll the dice to see if they explode and do mortal wounds, normally it's on a 6. And then if they have Thunderstrike armor, you get to add an extra dice to that. I assume that this means that it goes from a 6 to a 5?
Yes. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
But it's only once per battle.
Yep. It's not great.
So,
Yeah. Like if it's a unit of 5,
yeah.
then you're doubling their chances of exploding. But then this one Call for Aid gives you a whole other unit that can explode, which also doubles your number of mortal wounds that you would explode on. But you also get a whole unit.
A whole other unit, yeah.
And you can just that one instead of the other one. Like
and you can just nab an objective with that too.
I mean, maybe if you're running like a massive units in Stormcast somehow.
Right.
I don't know.
So okay, so Call for Aid, just so everyone's on the same thing. Once per battle, has to be Redeemer unit, 5 or fewer models. Pick a hero on the battlefield. A new replacement unit identical to that unit that was destroyed is added to your army. Set up that unit wholly within 12 inches of that Stormcast Eternals hero, more than 9 inches from all enemy units. So you could even theoretically like die on purpose just to get an objective, and that would be just awesome and dastardly, and it might even combo into an eye for an eye or something like that you could.
Final Thunderstrike is that it's only units within an inch. So even if you have a big unit,
right,
only the front row is exploding anyway.
Right.
It's just bad. Right. Like you're gonna have maybe 5 guys get a +1 to their roll.
Right.
That's not.
The main thing that I would say that on is if you're running Krondus and Karazai and you want to stick to somebody as you're going out. But
if they play Spite, I think that's
right, exactly. Yeah, if you've lost your 550 point dragon, the game may not be going very well for you. So
it is good for that.
Okay, so
the Call for Aid is game winning though. I mean, I'm sure you have had Erik.
Yeah.
It's just it can be transformative. And I had a game 2 weeks ago where my opponent wasn't thinking. I mean, he knew that I had Call for Aid, but he just wasn't thinking about it. Which he came in, killed a unit of Liberators that were on an objective, which allowed me to bring them back, which allowed me to then auto run them 6, move 5, and steal an objective. It was on Jaws of Galat in the center of the battlefield, which got me some critical points for hold 1. It got me the hold 2, and then got me the hold more. So 2 extra victory points from that, right? Like just a lot of that. It's good for take what's theirs. You can plan in advance where, okay, I'm going to use Translocate, the Teleport Prayer, or Tunnel Master to set up when my whatever Redeemer unit dies, right? I'm going to have my hero in place in my opponent's territory to call for aid from that hero.
Yeah, it's almost like being able to use like a Scions on turn 4 and 5, you know?
Totally.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Something to note about it. So we talked about it earlier. This command ability, it's a command ability, so you do need to have that point to use it. So that's something to keep in mind. Yeah. All of these you need a point. You need a command point or whatever. And then the other thing that I brought up that I thought was maybe a dastardly play will not work because it says when a friendly Redeemer unit is destroyed. So you have to do it then. You can't have it in your back pocket for later to just kind of bring them down. But
I think part of Call for Aid is that it's just Stormcast Eternal's hero. It's not tied to Knight or Lord, so Andrasta can actually do this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
all of the other ones, you have to be a Knight or a Lord.
Mm.
Right.
Except for Call for Aid is just Stormcast Eternal's hero.
Yeah.
But you could kind of do the Night Haunt thing where you're just bringing people over from the opposite end of the battlefield. You know what I mean? Like, you could be not moving a unit, but you could be really essentially moving a unit very, very far with a command point, and you can't deny that. No, I think that's a really good call. So, okay. Then obviously, was it Thunderbolt Volley was the sort of everyone was taking it one where you get to shoot in the hero phase. I mean, that's always going to be strong. I feel like but like if you're not taking long strikes, or
then you probably
you're not.
Right now,
holistically, you're not using it. Yeah, without them. Yeah.
Do you guys see a world where you are taking like maybe a second aspect of the champion, and so you only get access to one of these? You have long strikes, but you still don't take Thunderbolt Volley, and you take like Call for Aid or something else.
What do you think, man?
I think I take Thunderbolt Volley because I sort of am building that into the price of the long strikes for me when I'm figuring out what I can kill before they're going to get to come back at me. Yeah. And I feel I kind of need that third round of shooting from your two things on the first turn.
Fair.
To really take that as a thing where you're going to try to achieve that goal of killing that particular hero or whatever. So I think you need it when you're taking it for that job, which is the only reason you would take it. So I think if you're taking long to do that, I think you need to take it over Call for Aid. I think
that I can see that for sure.
But Call for Aid might be better overall. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I can see you're just getting like, how many points are Sequitors or whatever?
Like 120.
120, so that's like another 120 points. Like
one's a free unit, and the other one just kind of makes your existing unit, be more reliable.
But you get another 120 points in your list effectively, because those Sequitors are going to die at some point. Like some Sequitors or one of these Redeemer units is going to die at some point.
Yeah. I don't think it's wrong to take Call for Aid. I just think the way I look at list building, I think I would take Thunderbolt Volley first if I had long.
That makes sense. Alex says he only asked about Final Thunderstrike to annoy you, Erik. Keith says Steadfast March. We haven't touched on that.
Yeah, that's the last one. And in answer to your question, Rob, I mean, when it comes to two aspects of the champion or two holy commands, I think in most cases the answer is two holy commands.
Yeah. Now that I'm here, like looking at these, I have to agree. Like they almost make the army. Like it's almost like it's such a huge part of the army, even though they're once per battle. Like, wow.
Yeah, I love you. Unique enhancements are my favorite part of 3rd edition. I think they're the coolest part of every book that has them.
Totally.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I have to agree. I wish there was more of it. Although it does make things hard to balance, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, Steadfast March. You can use this command ability once per battle. At the start of your movement phase, it can only be issued by a knight unit, wholly within 12 inches, blah, 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 or 18 inches of a lord, etc. The unit that receives the command must be a friendly Stormcast Eternals unit. Until your next hero phase, that unit can run and still charge later in that turn. Yeah, that's... Run and charge is good, man, and if people can't stop you...
The problem is that it's a movement phase command ability.
Yeah.
Which means no auto 6, which means you can be using a holy command and a command range, which seems like a bad
So you might just get a 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, having to roll it makes it, to me, not worth taking, I think, because it's just...
So what Erik means is because you can't use 2 command abilities on 1 unit in the same phase. Therefore, you cannot run and charge and still auto run 6. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So you're
basically 3d6 charge without the 18-inch caveat is effectively what it is.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah.
Which is
which is okay.
So if it had been at like the end of the hero phase or something like that, it would have made this way better.
Yeah, or in the charge phase would have been made really better. Then
Oh,
it would be like,
totally. Yeah, that would have been made more sense too, actually.
yeah. And it's not like it's bad. It's just compared to Call for Aid or, you know.
I've had some debates with other Stormcast players around this. My friend Matt, for example, we've been having this debate about Call for Aid versus Steadfast March with his list.
Okay.
Right.
Now, he runs Bastion in his list, which I think helps make Steadfast March more intriguing. It's Bastion, Relictor, Castellant, Incantor, 2x5 libs, 6 long strikes, 4 fulminators, 3 birds, Thunderbolt Volley, Steadfast March, Hammers of Sigmar.
Right.
I'm not sure what aspect. Great list. So Bastion allows you to redeploy after you guys have the players have determined who's going to go first. So he'll often put the fulminators on the line as a potential threat with Steadfast March. So your opponent has to be calculating that you might pop a 6.
Yeah.
And you might get to a place that they can't deal with you getting to as an alpha strike. And then of course if his opponent decides to go first, he can just simply redeploy them with Bastion.
Yeah.
Totally.
So I think there's a play with Bastion in particular that makes it notable. But in general, I agree with Erik.
That's similar to what I would do in Tyranids. Totally unrelated, but like I know exactly what you mean. Where you're redeploying, it's like you have the best of both worlds. And
yeah. I think it's good. I think it's like the third best one.
Yeah.
Ever taking 2. So I feel like it doesn't get picked a lot of the time.
Sure.
Are you talking about Steadfast?
Yeah.
Well, or I guess unless you're building into Unleash Thy Hatred, then that becomes because like I think that's the third best one, unless
if you're running, it depends what you're running with that one.
Right.
I think if you're running protectors and like you were saying, you bold paladins, I think it's good. I don't think it's that great on Annihilators per se.
Yeah.
But you don't need it on 6 hammers because they'll just kill anything anyway.
Yeah.
And then 3 hammers.
They'll die, Erik. They won't kill anything. They'll fail their charge, and then they'll die.
That's true. Or they'll get unbelievable, and one guy will get in. They'll die.
It did sound like you were talking yourself back into them.
No, we got to fix that real quick.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, they unleashed my hatred. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, they sure did, and that is evident in the battle report for sure.
Plus one to not getting us. How about +1 to charge?
Yeah.
If it was +1 to charge, I would take it every time. I would actually take Annihilators. If this was +1 to charge, I would consider it.
But then it becomes your Sylvaneth problem where it's a 6 rerollable.
Yeah, that's true. That's right.
And wasn't there an ability to like reroll 1 dice in one of the Stormkeeps for charging?
Yeah, Tempest Lords. But that's only for if you have the
flying units. Okay.
Yeah.
Withdrawn, Your Honor. Okay. So I guess that's Holy Commands, and we talked about the Stormkeeps. I don't think we need to talk about the grand strategies or battle tactics. Like I feel, if you guys are okay with it, like I'm.
The only thing I would point out,
please,
Erik, you have any thoughts on this season? So obviously we've been having a lot of debates in the community around whether to book battle tactics or not at grand tournaments. I mean, the ultimate answer is most grand tournaments are going to do it for better or worse.
Yep.
With Stormcast as one of the first 2 battle tomes for the season, you really feel the low quality of their battle tactics.
They're terrible. Yeah.
Yes, and now that's meaningful with Stormcast if you're trying to be competitive at a tournament, because generally speaking, you're going to have a harder time going after your battle tactics than a lot of factions in the game right now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
With Stormcast players, I think you're generally looking at getting, unless maybe you're running some like a Star Drake as your general that could open up this one's mine, which is your general has to kill a unit that you've selected with a missile attack or a melee attack.
Right.
Unless you're doing that, you're generally looking at 4 battle tactics for Stormcast in your games: cutting maneuver, desecrate their land, gaining momentum, and eye for an eye. The other one, that 5th one, is going to be challenging at times.
You know what though? Like if you're running a double teleport thing, if you're taking Tunnel Master and you're taking the translocation prayer, I think that Stormcast are doing quite well in terms of book battle tactics, because there's that basically unlocks all of the Galatian champions only section, like to a degree that I don't think anyone else does. Like, there's no other way of reliably, you can't stop me getting 2 Galatian champions, and
it's all still in though, right? So like all they have to do is land on the objectives, and then you can be there.
Yeah, and I guess the counter argument there is that okay, so a lot of the time people give you the first turn if they have the option, right? Now, obviously, if you have the option, then you can do this. But like, if you take the first turn and you put the 2 Galatian champions on the middle objective reliably, like, that's you getting something that most people can't get.
On missions where you're going first and they have objectives that are,
you know what I mean?
Okay, for sure.
So,
well, with that example though, so you're talking about United Offense. United Offense says you must pick an objective controlled by your opponent.
Right.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
There was one.
So I'm not saying that these are not possible, like United Offense, Lead Assault. They're possible, although they're just hard. They're really hard. And if you're a competitive player and you're trying to minimize risk, optimize your chance of, what I'm getting at is the TLDR. If you want to open up a more reliable 5th option, in my mind, you need to really consider running a dragon this season. That's the switch that I've made, because a dragon, Karazai, Krondas, Stormdrake Guard, and Draconis opens up Draconith Destruction in particular in the battle tactic list, which is a fairly reliable one you can get as your potential 5th one.
You mean for this one's mine?
No, Draconith.
Oh, the Stormcast one.
To do in the Stormcast. Yeah.
Stormcast ones,
right.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So, Draconith Destruction, got it. So Draconith or Stardrake or Dracoth. So any of them.
Yeah.
Huh. So, and like a Draconith on how many points is a Draconith guy? The hero. I can't remember what he's called.
Nitroconus is 300.
300. I mean, and he's slappy. He's slappy dappy do.
It's not bad.
Yeah. Okay. And then
just to say it, the battle to pick one unit in your opponent's starting army on the battlefield, 10 or more models. You have to destroy that unit caused by attacks from Draconith, Stardrake, or Dracoth during that turn.
Right.
So I mean, it's not automatic. It's just, it strikes me as a 5th one. That's more reliable than some of these other ones. Right. If you're playing that game where you're trying to optimize.
What do you think about no challenge too great? Kill a hero with a Redeemer unit. So I'm thinking.
Kill a hero. Yeah. What do you got in mind?
Thinking like 10 Vindictors, 10 Sequitors, that type thing. People are going to be wanting to put 5 wound heroes on center objectives.
Yeah, man, that's interesting.
Right? So you just over and kill them, right? Because they only have 5 wounds or whatever, and you've got big unit of guys that do mortals or guys that have 2 damage hammers.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Absolutely.
And that's a decent unit, I think, in this. Like, I'm starting to think about a 10-pack as a little anvil that can maybe do some.
Dude, I've played against 10 Vindictors a number of times, and I'm always impressed by how resilient a unit of 10 is. Yeah.
Like, skip save and mortals on 6s. Like, that's what Chosen have, and they're, like, way cheaper.
Yeah.
Right.
Alex says, that's a good thought.
Alex says Gardas 15 Vindictors.
Sure. Yep. Yeah, I think no challenge too great in this particular GHB, I think, is maybe a doable one.
Yeah,
I think we should point out how hilariously bad some of these ones are, though.
They're terrible.
Yeah.
Like, pick one hero on your opponent's starting army that has more than 10 wounds and has 0 wounds allocated to it, and then you have to kill it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Some of these are just funny. Or like have cities of. I like the cities of Sigmar ones where you're like have a different army do a thing, and then you can get a battle tactic in Stormcast. Cool.
Yeah.
That one.
Lightning Shatter morale.
I mean, sorry. What about like Hammer Strike? So like, I mean, there's some heroes out there though. Like you've got like. Yeah,
this is one of those like everyone and every table around you is like, oh, when you finally get it. You know?
Yeah, that's
Right.
kind of true. I guess it does. It's a good idea to remember them, because like Hammer Strike Assault, you go up against like heck, like even a Mangler Squig. You know what I mean? Like four up saves, 14 wounds. Like
You have to call it before they call Finest Hour.
Yeah.
that's true. That is true. But then still, like, okay, they're on a 3-up now, and it's like a 370 point. It might be
It's
so.
well, I'm just saying that in Sylvaneth, there's one that says, "Do the thing that you do every turn."
Yeah.
Oh, hey, you got your battle tactic. Awesome. Good for you.
That's
Congratulations.
true.
Or Slaves to Darkness, charge with 3 units. Hey, battle tactic. Or for the god.
Yeah.
Hey, battle tactic.
Yeah, I mean, if we're comparing these are trash. They're mostly just pure trash. It's true.
Yeah.
It is. They're like actually like pretty funny how bad they are. Like they're not even just like a little bit bad. They're just like absurd. How do you read it? You're like, what?
I think the dumbest one is definitely the one where you're picking a unit not in your army, as you said, to complete a battle tactic for your army. That's
yeah.
I don't know what they were thinking. I mean, actually, like, it's a little like along the lines of like, it felt like when they first came out with these books, it was like, okay, what are we going to, like, we want these things to be hard, you know? And then later on they were like, oh no, we want them to be easy. And then now we're going back to hard again. But yeah.
It's possible. I mean, there's a whole discussion around that. I mean, real quickly on that point. So you're talking about to what degree did they have a clear design first principle in mind with this? I've had a friend of mine. He made an interesting argument to me the other week, which was essentially that the way he views book battle tactics is that Games Workshop, he does not think are thinking about them as a separator, or
they're not there in terms of balance.
They're not there in terms of balance. They're there in terms of composition. They're there to help increase the variety of viable composition, like in the way that with 40K, you have a range of secondary objectives you can choose, and therefore 40K players will often design lists to go after specific objectives, right?
Yeah.
In 40K, you are designing around a secondary. That's like that's fundamentally how it works. But now in 40K, all the secondaries aren't located in the battle tomes anyway, or in their codexes. They are located in their version of the GHB, which is called chapter approved, right? So like they are in 40K, they are thinking about them in terms of balance. But you know what? I think your friend's right. Like
it's an interesting perspective.
That kind of clicked for me. That's interesting. Robert says it could be worse. The Skaven battle tactics. The Skaven ones are bad. They're true.
Terrible.
Yeah, they're really
they're
really
like
bad.
It's like they're like an aspect of the army, though. You know, like some armies don't have good shooting. Some armies are slow.
Yes.
Some are bad battle tactics. You know, like but it is like it's just a facet of the army. Like what can make it good is they have really good shooting, or they have really good battle tactics. That can be like a part of your army that can be good or bad with just like the game. That's the way I look.
That's true. And then like naturally there's going to be some armies that do everything well, like daughters. Like they get
anything else.
Yeah. And specifically daughters. Shooting, magic.
Well, let's
combat.
not forget Hell here.
Is that true in the new one? I haven't paid attention.
Yeah, they still do a lot of things.
Do they? That's fair. Okay. You know what's weird though is like daughters and Skaven were not that far apart, so a bit of my theory was kind of thrown out of of whack there. But like what I was gonna say though is that like the Auric Warclans, like if you look at their artifacts, they are trash. They're hardcore trash. They're all once per battle, and they're all just really bad. You know what I mean? Like you can make an argument in certain like key situations, but it's like what if they don't have any shooting? Like a lot of armies in Sigmar don't have shooting, so like one of those things does not help you. Or you know, what if they are mostly shooting? Then the other thing. So I feel like it's like, you know, the battle tactics for Auric Warclans aren't great either. So I feel like they were on the same kind of design principle for that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what they were thinking. But it's interesting. I guess we should quickly talk about grand strategies. Are there any here that you guys take?
Let's see. I haven't looked at these in a while. When the battle ends, complete grand strat. Only heroes in the battlefield are friendly Draculines, Star Drake, or Dracoth units. Probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're planning on an all dragon list and you're confident that you're going to win every game. Pillars of Victory. When the battle ends, you complete grand strategy if only the battle line units on the battlefield are friendly. Redeemer units. Again, probably not. That strikes me as quite challenging.
Yeah.
Sacred Charge. When the battle ends, complete grand strat if there are 2 or more friendly Cities of Sigmar units on the battlefield. I mean, if you want to bring 2 Cities of Sigmar units and do your damnedest to hide them the entire game, I guess. But in general, Stormcast lists are always take what's theirs. That was the truth last season and will continue to be true this season.
Well, I'm assuming that the what's the new one called? Like the Crusade, the new Cities of Sigmar army that they're remaking.
Oh yeah, Dawnbringer Crusade.
Dawnbringer Crusade. Yeah. So, like, what happens to these when, like?
Yeah.
That book's a long way off, I think. So we'll probably.
I do too. Yeah, like you know how the leak was it's coming this summer and Seraphon are coming in the spring. Now we know that leak. Well, I already knew before that because I had some side information that I heard about. But like, so I think they're next year at the earliest, right?
Well, no, they did say this year.
Really?
Or they certainly intimated pretty clearly that
maybe the fall
Crusades,
then.
So it seems like it's going to be the fall.
Because it's not going to be the spring. There's no way.
Yeah, at this point, it looks like it'll be after the big 40K summer.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I like that. Okay, so now we've reached the end of that. I don't have the War Scrolls to show, but you guys can follow at home if you use the app or whatever. Like, there's a million different ways of getting these scrolls up for free. We won't go too deep because I
don't want to go through 80 some War Scrolls one by one?
Eric
I'm here for it, man.
Eric is,
I've got an average.
I forgot who I was talking to, right?
I'm expected to hit wherever I go. 3 hours is the minimum, Rob.
No. Well, I was gonna say specifically for Eric, he's being a trooper. He's fighting Nurgle's touch. So as I'll sacrifice my own. Anyway, are there any standout? So now that things have moved on, like when the book first came out, everyone knew dragons were busted. It was one of the first and only times we ever saw GW go like, whoa, before they even come out, we're gonna adjust this. Our apologies, everyone. I feel like now that the meta has moved on, I feel like we maybe could have been a little bit braver with some of the stuff that was happening at the time, but
I think it as a community stand to be a lot braver about things.
It's
like I think they play armies for like a few weeks before we decide that they're broken. That's just
bold move.
Bold statement.
Bold statement.
Eric and I talk about this a lot, and I don't disagree with that at all. And I've talked about it before. Actually, I think I've talked about it when we first met, Tyler. I was talking in a video before I had this channel, and you contacted me specifically because I was criticizing the overreaction. It might have been FEC at the time, I want to say. I don't remember for certain. Anyway, I do agree with that, but I think GW, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but I think GW's main focus is not on competitive play. And so it's like they're avoiding these people just going, oh, I don't want to play this anymore because it's such a bad situation. And I don't think we should balance the game at the lowest level. I think you should always balance the game at the top level.
Yeah, I actually think the problem is that people talk about rules as though they all apply all the time. I think that's what it is a book will come out and they'll talk about all the different sub-faction abilities as though you get them all at the same time. And I think it creates this like, oh my God, this is totally unfair. And then that's kind of the end of the conversation because like the book will come out, all the channels will do a show on it like the day it comes out, and then not talk about it again for like 18 months. And I think so then whatever the hot take is what people
remains. Totally.
people's heads a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But I think the hot takes are a little bit
Too hot sometimes.
They're
a
premature.
lot of the time.
They are, because do you guys remember when Maggotkin came out? And like, I know I'm in every Facebook group, so I can post my battle reports, right? And there was this like meltdown happening. Everyone's going like, "This is the worst book ever." It was all like that, right? And then Matthias was telling me, he's like, "No, I think there's some play here." And he was gonna play that Glotkin list that he won the Seattle Open with, right? Yeah. And when that right before I posted that, after we had filmed it, I saw a couple people posting, "You know what, guys? I think there's some play here." Right? And I'm going like, yeah, good for you, man. You know, and like, and you know, I was a little bit down on a couple of armies that came out, you know, actually here's a great example, right? When Cruel Boys came out, everyone's like, their poison thing is the most busted thing ever. This army is broken and like it's so messed up, and they've been consistently at the bottom. I guess the long story short is that we really don't know when things come out. Like, the game is just like, it's too volatile. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like in a fighting game where you're like, well, like, I can look at this frame data and know that like you shouldn't have, you know, this move on a plus whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that the game is that figured out. So it's true. It's true. But putting that aside, what do you guys think? What are, like, in this new meta, in the new GHB, and since things have settled, what are your favorite units? And then maybe we can, if we have time for it, we can maybe ask for a couple of units that you guys think used to be really good and have changed a lot since they came out.
So, like I said, I think the bench is a lot deeper with this season than last season.
Okay.
And I'm really hoping that we'll see some experimentation take place over the next 6 months. Anywhere from, you could run multiple Sacrosanct War Scrolls and I think do pretty well. Maybe you're not going to go win Adepticon championship with it.
Yeah.
But you can be competitive. You can run a wide variety of pieces. I mean, to start going through a few that come to mind, let's see. So we've talked about 15 Vindictors. We've talked about Evocators.
Yep.
Talked about some of the heroes that are now on the menu. I think the Incantor is highly relevant. If you have the ability to auto-imbind one spell, that could be the one key spell that you need to auto-imbind that game. Like against Lumineth, right? Lumineth are still, I think, often going to be a one-drop. They're going to be techless, plus 30 to 40 Sentinels, 5 Wind Chargers, 10 or 20 Wardens, Spell Portal, Rune of Petrifaction. They're wanting to get off their 5-up ward for their whole army castle. If you can shut that off, you might be able to burn through them more readily, particularly if you can double them. You know, there's a number of instances like that in matchups, but I think the Incantor is interesting. Sequitors are definitely on the menu now. I don't personally rate them as highly as some others do, because I don't tend to build lists that look for damage output in my battle line. I just look for durability in my battle line with my list, which in my mind is either Vanquishers because they have a 5-up rally, or I'm still on the Liberators. And I've seen a number of people say that they think that Liberators have gone down in their estimation. They have a 3+ base against shooting and melee. That's why I love them. You don't have to,
Sorry, before, I don't want to move away from the Incantor just yet.
Sure.
How does that interact with Techless's? Because he can either do 4 spells on 10 or 1 spell with overwhelming force, and it says cannot be unbound. How does that? It's like you know, the invincible shield versus the unstoppable.
Not totally.
Yeah.
It would mean that Techless would win out, but of course, that's fantastic.
Huge. Yeah, you win because they don't cast any more spells other than one. For sure. Got it. Okay. And then I had one more question about. Sorry. Or did you want to add anything about what do you think about the Incantor, Erik?
I think the Incantor's great. I think the auto unbind is good. I think the spell lore is good. So having a wizard in your army is good. I think a wizard with a 3-up save is awesome.
For sure. Yeah, that's really rare, and also it's a Galatian champion.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the Incantor's good all the way around.
Okay.
The only thing is maybe not for Thundershock because it's only a knight and 12.
Yeah.
With 18.
Got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Actually, I did remember what I was going to say. So a lot of people in the Skaven community are still saying Storm Fiends. I don't agree, and I haven't agreed since my second game against Erik where he slaughtered me, and I was like, these things are so unreliable. But the thing is like, to make them even close to reliable, you need more warp power. So Incantor comes in. No, you don't get that. Like, it doesn't matter what you roll, you don't get it, right?
Yep.
And then it's just like, okay, that's like most of your, so much of your army. It's like 700 points almost, right? Yeah, I think I agree with what Robert said. Stormfiends are the biggest trap unit in the game. I actually think that's totally true. Yo, what's up, Darren? Thanks for joining us. Darren's one of the founders of our local club and a huge pillar of the community. I'm still waiting for him to get on my channel, but he has evaded me like a slippery eel. Okay, so sorry. So you went on to the after Incantor, you talked about
Let's talk about Sequitors.
yes, and then you were about to mention another unit, and I just didn't want to stop. I wanted to talk about the Incantor.
Yeah, we've mentioned the Knight Zephyros a little bit. I think that's a hero that could see some play because it has a built-in teleport. You mentioned, Rob, at the top of the show that generally this season, if you have ways to teleport your Galatian champions, you're on the right track, right? Particularly if you have multiple ways to teleport multiple Galatian champions in your list. So there are a number of options there. I think with the Zephyros, he's especially a really good ally. Like, I could see him in like Idneth lists, for example, teleporting around.
Totally. Yeah, actually, I agree. Oh, so in the Zephyros, how fast does he move?
It's only 5-inch base or 6-inch base.
Okay. So, he's
again,
just the teleporty guy. I see. Okay.
Yeah, end of your movement phase, regardless of whether it's in combat or not, you just pick him up. Yeah, set him up outside of 9 anywhere.
That's super, super good. Okay, and then what? Oh, Azeros is the guy who flies.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
And now he doesn't have a mount because he just got angel wings on.
Right.
Moves 12 inches. Is a Galatian champion.
Yep.
And he can also lay down some smack, I think.
Yeah, 5 attacks, 3s, -1, 2 damage, which solid as a profile. Could do.
Yeah.
We talked about the Exalted Hero of Chaos, doing some fighting in the hero phase, so certainly the Azeros could do a little bit of work. And then that buff, Light of Sigmar, pick an enemy unit within 9 inches, start of combat phase or end of charge phase, one of the two. You add 1 to your hit rolls against that unit for all Stormcast melee attacks against it. That's quite helpful.
Wow.
Obviously, for a number of reasons, it can overcome a -1 to hit, so you could do all-out attack plus that. I've been running him with my Karazai 10 Protectors list, and it's been outstanding because it allows me to have like an all-out attack in one place and the Azeros in a different place, or it allows Karazai to overcome a -1. It came up against Lumineth, right? I was able to overcome Shining Company and stay on 2s with Karazai, which is huge.
It helps get you through a total eclipse too.
Helps get you through a total eclipse. Absolutely, man. Yeah.
Wow.
Instantly, Bastion is interesting with total eclipse as well because Bastion's free command point. The way that it's worded, it's not spending command points.
Right.
So it gets around total eclipse entirely. Yeah, Bastion is actually really interesting, I think, against Lumineth. I was talking with Matt today about this and, putting mortal wounds on tech lists, redeploying, getting around total eclipse, etc. Yeah.
Wow. Huh. I guess anytime you're putting mortal wounds on tech list, you're doing good work.
Erik, you got any? I'm talking a lot.
What was I had one.
Sorry. It was probably me.
Oh, should we talk about the Lord Imperatant? Let's talk about the Lord Imperatant for a second.
Sure.
Love it. Yep.
So his job is to do what should be on the Annihilators War Scroll, and isn't. So now you have to take a 170-point hero.
Yeah.
Your 240-point unit work at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
What a terrible, terrible situation we find with Imperatant.
Yeah. Okay. But
he's the free command, so he's your total eclipse guy.
Yeah, but he is the biggest tax in this book, I would say.
Yeah.
Just in terms of a list direction you'd like to go in. It's ridiculous. He's overcosted by what, Erik? 30 points at least?
Points.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, crazy. And I think he should have the Bastion thing where he can do his command point thing anywhere on the battlefield.
Anywhere on the battlefield, yeah.
If he could do that, I would actually be fine with him, because then you can drop him in the back. He can guide guys down. He can do commands from the back.
Yeah.
Be all right.
That'd
But
be
you
dope.
got front and like.
How so? Now
Yeah, he's just way too.
he is too expensive. So this is not a unit that you're recommending. You feel like he's changed since we first reacted. Because at first he almost seemed overly strong. Like, I get why they still think he's that point, because it's like, who gets to drop a bunch of stuff at 7 inches away? Like, that's so rare, right?
Yeah. It's just it's one unit, and it's the only way to make Annihilators actually work.
It's only 1 unit per turn, right?
Yeah, once per.
Yeah, and it's 7 inches. It's not 6. It's it's a few things. So you don't like. But if you're running Annihilators, you have to take him, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's like, this is a tick for him, but it's like it's a bitter tick, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wish he did something else.
right.
You know.
Yeah. And he has to come down. He can't come down 7 inches and then also bring a unit down 7 inches. He has to.
No, but they did FAQ that he can come down in the same turn.
In the same turn.
Mm-hmm.
He can't do that, which is nice.
That is important. I guess now, could he come down with paladins next to him, charge in, and then do the like you attack after me kind of deal?
I mean, he would have to make a 9-inch charge.
Right.
'Cause you can
What about with the you get to decide the 2 dice roll? I don't know. I think that combo's probably worth it.
Yeah,
Eh?
you could give him a Luckstone, I guess. But like,
Yeah.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
things on a really bad.
Yeah.
And it's all you're getting is like his extra attacks, which really isn't all that fantastic.
Yeah.
I assume. Okay.
I mean, yeah, like, going back to 15 Vindictors, he's kind of interesting with that, because you could use them aggressively, or just generally deep striking them in, right? 15, they're a 7-up reroll.
Yeah.
You don't hit it, maybe they're, I mean, like, but he's just too high of attacks. That's the bottom line. As Erik said, he nailed it. He doesn't do enough for his cost. So you're amortizing his cost across already overcosted Annihilator Grandhammers.
Yeah.
And it's just a bit absurd.
If you already have a Relictor with a teleport, and then you take a 100-point Battle Mage for +2 to charge, you're kind of doing that anyway, right? You're dropping them at 9 and then charging on a 7.
I don't know about your experience, Bud, but 9s are a lot easier in my book than 7s. I'll take my 9 reroll every day of the week than freaking 7s.
It's something about the thought process of rolling a 7. You're like, oh man, I should have this, therefore I won't get it.
Yeah.
Robert Henley says his cloak is fabulous. I think that's something we can all agree.
Oh yeah, he's a gorgeous model. Yeah, no argument there.
Really cool model. Okay.
So some others, Vanquishers, I think are going to have become popular. They're the cheapest Redeemer, 110 points. When we see more models on the table, obviously that makes Vanquishers even more intriguing. They're excellent against Horde units. You get up to, I believe, 3 attacks each. And then you're looking at a 5-up rally on that unit, which is pretty sweet. So yeah, they're pretty efficient.
Which one are Vanquishers again?
Sorry, the big swords.
The big sword guys.
The double-handed sword.
Those are like the actual double-handed sword guys. Don't those guys have the bodyguard rule as well?
No, those are Praetors.
Oh god. Okay. Yeah.
Who are again? That's another unit that I have seen a number of people say they think they're down on. They don't like Praetors. Praetors, generally speaking, are list dependent, right? Because they're there principally as a bodyguard, so they're good with a Guardus list.
Yep.
Help Guardus survive. I've been running 3 Praetors with Karazai.
That's what
Nice.
Yeah.
Robert Hanley just put that in the chat as you said it. So
okay.
During the live stream, he will beat you because we've got a couple of second delay. Praetors plus Karazai. Yeah, totally. Wow.
The first, so I mean, there have been some people running Karazai in last season when he was 600 points, and some people running Krondys. We should also talk about Krondys lists, which I don't know, Erik, if you've played around with any Krondys lists, there's some cool things you can do there. But with Karazai, shout out to Joel Graham, or I always get Joel McGrath and Joel Graham confused. I think Joel McGrath in Australia or New Zealand, if he hears this, he's going to kill me. Not getting his name right, not getting his country right. He was running the Super Karazai list. So I think at one point he had 6 Praetors, 2 Lord Relictors,
Wow.
1 with blessed weapons, 1 with just going all in on the Super Karazai. And I think he had some 5-0s with that list, a number of 4 1s. But anyway, Karazai is my number 1 pick on the board for this season, arguably, in terms of what I think is going to be quite strong, because I'm expecting us to have pretty big units.
Yes.
And he can nuke big units, and he's pretty good against.
Is insane. But so is Krondys. Like the tail attack is the same, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
You have to use him carefully. Like he will go if you run him into an 18-inch kill box against Tzeentch, he's gonna die, even with your tailor, right? Like you can't just throw him forward.
So, but I don't know if Tyler remembers, but Erik played against Krondys with his Tzeentch. Okay. And his opponent essentially ran into a ridiculous amount of rolls.
It's clicking in, yeah.
And
I think I remember the
Erik had the worst Destiny dice roll I've ever seen. Like we were laughing as he was getting them back and just rolling a 1 like every time. It was amazing. Yeah, you have to be careful. Do you think Praetors are a necessity if you are running Karazai?
Essentially 100%.
Okay,
yeah. 3, yeah. But I mean, they've done work in my games. They're full up, 3 models, 10 attacks, 3s, -1/2 damage. Again, if you have the Azros there, you don't have to put all that attack on them. They're swinging into something around Karazai that's coming to Karazai, or he's gone into them, right? They're going to be on 2s and 3s. I mean, that can pop off every once in a while. 10 attacks, 2s, 3s, -1/2 damage. That's going to get some work done.
Heck yeah, absolutely.
So I don't really get why a number of people are really down, it seems, on Praetors. I love that.
They're not battle line, correct?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's because kill things, right? They don't really have a good attack profile. That's not really what they're for.
It's not what they're for.
Yeah, it's got its own like use, and I guess I think for a lot of people it's like, if that use isn't obvious, then they overlook it. Like the Glotkin, like you took the Glotkin when he was at 700 points, right, Tyler? Or whatever.
No, I didn't play the Glotkin, but
I thought you won the tournament with
Nashcon. My 5-0 Nashcon was double Magath Lord.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it was Matthias who was running the Glotkin when he was he was whatever he was at, like 710 or whatever.
Yeah.
And which is insane, but like that's the one thing that Dale never wants to play again. He hates the Glotkin, and he just came down in points. It's just kind of like to underline that, like, you know what I mean? Not everyone kind of sees the Matrix. You know what I mean? And like, I don't know that Praetors are like something you need to see the Matrix for, but like the uses are not necessarily obvious, perhaps.
Yeah, they're very list dependent.
Yeah. Like I was never using Storm Vermin to kill things. I still don't think they're good at killing things. I think they're overly pointed for that, but they have bodyguard, and that's what I use them for. Like,
right.
And I think any bodyguard unit is going to be fantastic in the new GHB. Way stronger. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
big.
Okay. So
there's a lot of good units, right? Eric's any more? I mean, I could keep rattling on. Any more that's coming to your mind?
Right. Like, I mean, I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk about just the Relictor and the Castellan and how they've been Stormcast heroes. Yeah. From the day they came out until today, they've just always.
It's like the auto include.
The other thing about the Relictor that we don't really talk about is his War Scroll prayers are amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty good, right? You'd think that would be good if that's all he had, but then he has the Lightning Blast, which is D3 mortal wounds and -1 to hit.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's so good.
Totally.
And people forget about it. They're like, oh, he's your teleport guy, and you use him to teleport, and then they get close, and then all of a sudden, D3 mortal wounds, -1 to hit.
Right.
You know, Crusha brackets, and then his -1 to hit, and all of a sudden he doesn't kill your guy. And
That's another nice potential combo with Tunnel Master on your Relictor, where you use Tunnel Master to place him where you want him to be in position to heal, like a key, again, like a Karazai or a Krondus, like a key model who could potentially double up with Heroic Recovery. That's really interesting.
And then teleport afterwards.
And then teleport. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good call. Would you ever take 2 of them? Because how many prayers does he have, first of all?
He gets 1. I have a second one because I feel like there's a list with 2.
Yeah.
And it's Stormkeep. You just can't have 2 of anything because you just don't have enough points. I feel like you need those points for a different job most of the time.
Right.
That's fair.
Work out for me. Like I would love to run 2, but I just have a hard time fitting it because then you end up with like you need a Castellan and then you need a Wizard and then all of a sudden you're at 3 heroes. And you're out.
Totally. I really like having a priest in the army of some kind for stuff like endless prayers, because like some things like Daughter's Heart
is a problem.
It's the only way you can even interact with it, which I think is stupid, but whatever, right? You know what I mean? Like it is what it is for now. So like the only way that you can counter that sometimes is a priest. So
I would like a heroic action for that is what I would like.
Oh yes. Yeah. Why do we only have spells? Like why is
to dispel prayer would be nice.
That's a great call. Okay. I wanted to ask about. People are always like. I think dragons are just popular. It doesn't matter what's going on. I feel like we would be a little remiss if we didn't talk about how, like, when they first came out, people were just complaining about them so much that they got them like nerfed 2 or 3 times in a row. What do we think about them now? Are they still strong? Like, I feel like they're the. I got to be careful how I put this. I feel like they're probably the easiest way to play the army. Is that a fair statement? Or they were the easiest way to play the army? Maybe?
I don't know about that.
Is the game plan not the simplest for dragons, though?
Well, so of course, it sounds like... Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying I haven't played all dragons, so I...
Yeah, both of us have not played them. I have not, like I said, I've just now started playing Karazai. I generally did not... I played a couple of games with a unit of 2 Stormdrake Guard. It was just never my bag. I get the impression that, well, number one, now they are still competitive. Good players can still do well, in particular with an all-dragon list. I mean, like one of the best players in the country, Bill Souza, just went 4-1, but he can run 4-1 with about anything in this game, it seems. So I'm just saying a lot. But I do think there's a fair amount of nuance to using them well. Like, for example, they will often feel unwieldy, I think, if you're using them, but the unwieldiness is inherently one of their advantages, where they have the 3-inch coherency rule. So like a unit of 2 or unit of 4, right? You really leverage that 3-inch coherency to get them into weird places, and you're tying up multiple enemy units on a safe stack Stormdrake Guard unit that's hard to take down. So I think they can do some interesting pinning. Their damage output doesn't tend to blow you away. I think you often want to run swords, which are a -1 rend. There's a lot of safe stacking in the game. So, I think there's actually quite a bit of nuance to doing well with the dragon list nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, like, if their mortal wounds pop off, though, they pop off in a way that few things do in the game. And, like, if you're throwing enough dice at it, like, it just feels like you'll tend to be able to reliably get a decent amount of mortal wounds to soften things up, like a Bastiladon or something like that. But okay, that's interesting. Okay, is there anything else that you guys are?
Well, while we're on dragons, so Erik, did you say if you have played Krondus? You played against Krondus.
You played against
Krondus, and I
against
played
Krondus. Okay.
With Karazai, but I haven't played with Krondus yet.
Gotcha. So one of my favorite Stormcast lists from last year, a friend of mine, John Lindsay, really great player in the St. Louis area. John just went 4-1 at LVO over the weekend with Sylvaneth. He was running this amazing, I'd never seen this before in the community. Maybe it was somewhere else out there, but John was the first one that I see do it. So essentially he leaned into stacking Rens on shooting output with Krondus at the center of that.
Whoa.
Krondus plus a purple sun.
Yeah.
So Krondus, Krondus has his amazing Atavastic Tempest spell that is cast on a 6 with him.
And he's
generally
+3 at full health?
+3.
Right.
Yeah, so
Is
9,
it like 6-inch range or some crazy range too?
like a 24-inch range.
Jeez.
Yeah. And so one of the tricks in my game against John that he did was he had him, of course, in translocation range to teleport Krondus into a great spot to cast his spells in range of my Tim Protectors. I mean, it ended up I got a little lucky. It didn't cost me, but it was scary, right? Because he popped that out. He then popped out the Purple Sun. Now I'm at -2 before we've even gotten into Ren from shooting. So you get into
Wow.
like Tempestors with a ton of shots, or Judicators with Boltstorm crossbows, a ton of shots. I think that's a very powerful list that we haven't seen enough of.
Are Judicators -1 rend?
2.
Sorry. Yeah, Judicators no rend on the base, but -2 rend on the special shots.
For sure. I see.
Yeah.
I see. Wow.
Yeah. But it is especially really good with Tempestors, which is still a pretty solid unit.
I can
yeah,
see
with the
that.
built-in -1.
Or if you have long strikes, then you're at -4.
Sure, right.
What? Like you don't
Yeah.
even need the mortal wounds at that point. You're not relying on them at all.
Yeah.
And then if you have the like give all-out attack to 3 units nearby,
Right.
they're all hitting
Right.
on 2s, wounding on 2s, -4 rend, 2 damage. Like what the hell? You take out anything.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, so speaking of Judicator, like math-wise, the Judicators with crossbows are still the most math efficient
Is it?
shooting output in the book.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what?
They're amazing.
15 crossbows teleported around by a Relictor is an amazing unit. I've used that a number of times, and it just shreds things.
Yeah.
Eric has been
Yeah.
talking about them since like when people first were talking about long strikes in the new book. He was like, if they do whatever they do to long strikes doesn't matter because I've got these guys and they're sitting there
Sure.
and they're waiting for me and I can use them at any point and I think they might even be better right now.
Well, I was worried they were going to ruin long strikes, and then they actually did an elegant fix and made it so you can't use a reinforced unit, so people had to split their units, and it decreased the power but didn't ruin it, which is
exactly
amazing because they always ruin things, which is nice. Took something strong and just like toned it down,
yeah,
but left strong, like it's still good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
why
happy
I'm kind of happy about some of the new stuff that comes out. It feels like it's like it's good, but the points make it bad, and so you're just like waiting for them to notice, and then they're gonna be good one day. But if you start off too good, then they tend to over nerf things. They tend to like really smack them, right? So
Yeah.
18 bloods.
yeah, like honestly, like the Vermin Lords when they first came out in Skaven 2.0, I was like, they're not that good, guys. And like Dan Brewer was the other. That's why I bonded with Dan Brewer so quickly because he's like, guys, they're not that good. Like, don't go too far here. And they went way too far, and then you just never saw them again. I was like, oh, that's a shame. I really enjoyed painting that guy. Is there another? What's another good unit that you guys think about?
Yeah. I mean,
Orlon.
oh yeah, that's a good one. You got a point drop.
Right.
Yeah.
You got a
He's cheaper
huge point drop.
and just giving everybody around him +1 to hit.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
And he moves like 14, I want to say.
Yeah, flies
Yeah.
forward, and he's a monster, so he can roar stuff.
Yeah.
I like him like a Hallowed Knights list with Gardas,
Ooh.
right? And then you're all kind of in a castle anyway, and then you give that entire castle +1 to hit by just standing there in the middle, and then you can bust out and roar something. And then he's bringing models back with Cycle of the Storm, so if you're losing,
Wow.
strike to some shooting or some errant mortal wounds, you can bring that back.
Is he agnostic to your chamber as well?
The generic one.
Oh,
Generic
okay.
one, yeah.
Oh, good. Wow.
Yeah, there's
That's a great call. I don't like the donkey face on the mount. Like,
yeah.
that's
why I actually don't have one.
it's just the donkey face. But
Yeah.
But other than that, it's beautiful. Like the wings are amazing. Like if you just took another head from something else, it would be dope.
I'll have to send you guys. Years ago I'd come across a conversion. I'll have to find it. It's the most beautiful Toralon with there's like a griffin head and it's painted all white. It was like the shining white knight. It was just amazing. Yeah, I'll have to find it.
Please.
That'd be cool.
I wish they would, like sometimes they're just when they try to go weird. I like when they do weird stuff, but you know what I mean? Like I don't really like although I guess most people, the part that they like the most about Techless is the mount, but the weird face on the mount for me doesn't work either. But yeah, anyway, that's neither here nor there, I suppose. Is there another unit that you guys?
I mean, there's a few more that come to mind. Like, obviously, Raptor's still... Just maybe try to do some rapid fire here. Raptor's
please.
still amazing. Fulminator's still amazing. Let's see. We've talked about Evocators. I think Chariots are still good. They're not as good as they were last season because you can put them in Bounty Hunters, right? You bump up the damage on multiple profiles. That was really nice about them last season. We've mentioned Sequitors. They're still good. Birds are still solid. Ether Wings. I ran 10 Judicators with Skybolt bows as part of my list last year. They're okay. I think they're a little too overpriced. They're 200 for 5. I like the 24-inch range. You could still throw in 5 in a list and do fine on an objective, putting out some chip damage with Sharpshooters Battalion. I think they should be probably 180.
Yeah,
somewhere around there. 180
sounds right to me.
Yeah.
What are they now?
So 200.
Ooh.
And you really feel it sometimes. They do mortal wounds on modified 6s to hit. Like, they're not dramatically overpriced, but they're definitely overpriced. We've talked about a number of the Sacrosanct. If you need to save points, Knight Relictor is a good option with High Priest Translocation. Instead of a 2-up reroll, you're on a 3-up reroll. Not as good, but most of the time you're still going to get that. So yeah, I think you could see some play there.
There's play there for sure.
Yeah, 120 points, so 30-point difference from the Lord Relictor, as Erik said. You're scrambling for points in a Stormcast list. 30 points can be very meaningful. We've talked about the 2 big guys. We haven't mentioned yet Annihilators with shields too much, so on this whole agreement that he and I have about...
I was worried about bringing them up.
Well, okay, so I want to try them this year. I think they're an underrated unit right now. I suspect, like the premise is they're an underrated unit right now.
Curious, Erik, are so few units that have a 2-up save in this game.
I like them at 180. I think that's the right price.
Yeah, exactly, Rob. 2-up save on 180 points. Okay, so Erik's already laid out and experienced in his the bat rep the inherent problem with Annihilators with Grand Hammers. If you don't roll the 7-up with a reroll, they will generally melt because their job is to go in and kill an opponent's hammer. Therefore, they're going to be more than just outside of 7 inches away of an opponent's hammer, so they're going to die.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They die to anything. They're 9 wounds for 240 points. They have a 3-up base. Okay, they just melt. I don't quite understand how, like, Morgonk in St. Louis, an amazing Stormcast player, has done so well with them, but he has, which is really cool. So Annihilators with shields on a 2-up save, that helps overcome one of the inherent limitations, right, of Annihilators with Grand Hammers. They could actually survive. That's a big difference, 2-up versus a 3-up. They still have that mortal wound impact hit on the charge.
Yep.
They still have the blast damage. You're saving 60 points a pop. I think you have more room if you run like 2 or 3 of them. You don't go crazy.
Yeah.
But 2 or 3, right, in a list, you've still got a lot of other points to build around the Imperator with 2 or 3 of those. I've played against them over the last year, and I have consistently been more impressed by that unit than Annihilator with Grand Hammers.
So
yeah.
Like, and the other thing too is like we still have scenarios, battle plans, where if you control your enemy's objective, you get like 4 points or way more, right? So the shield Annihilators allow you to drop down.
There's right.
Yeah. Where and take an objective that they can't leave now.
Yes.
You cannot leave that objective. You have to babysit it, and a lot of armies can't afford to do that. They don't have a lot of chaff or whatever cultist clan rat equivalent.
Exactly.
Right?
To me, Rob, so my favorite Stormcast list of last year was this Thunder Buddies list after the 10 movies, Bastion and Celestine Prime. And, it wasn't designed to be like a fully optimized, but it was fun. It was competitive. It was challenging. It was just amazing to play. Bastion, Prime, Relictor, Castellan, 2x5 libs, 10 Judicators with bows, 10 Protectors, and Partridge and Pear Tree. Call for Aid, Unleash the Hatred. Okay, so that was an amazing list. They're like a poor man's version of Bastion in my mind. Bastion is a perfect distraction Carnifex, right?
Yeah.
You stack. He was my turn 1 play in so many games. I stack up the save, and then he goes off on a side, and he's a pain in the ass.
He's such
And
a
it like
pain in
it
the
creates this feeling of, am I going to ignore Bastion, or am I going to try to deal with them? If you try to deal with them, you have to put more into them than you want, which slows down the tempo of what your opponent can do, which then helps buy you more time, because Stormcast is usually, in my experience with them, they're playing late into the game. They're often getting down and scoring early. They're catching up late, right? They're often a 4 or 5 round army, unless maybe it's like Dragon Spam. Anyway, shields are a poor man's, like a cheaper version of Bastion in my mind. An amazing distraction card effect.
They're super mobile too, and like you can put them down. Like I was talking about, like nabbing an objective, like you can't go away. But even if they don't go away, you can if you have the Lord Imperator, they don't have to make the 7-inch charge, but they might, and they could just go into some what are they called, tree revenants or clan rats, and they'll probably take out a unit of 20 clan rats that are objective holding or whatever, right, in the back.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
and that's another Knights Excelsior, where they could get really interesting, right? Because most units they're going to go into, it's going to be 2s and 2s. They'll get the +1 to hit and +1 to wound.
Ooh,
10 attacks, 2s and 2s, -1, 2 damage, or
And their battle line, I think, in Excelsior, you said.
Yeah.
Right. So you don't have to like waste any points where you don't want them to go. They'd be a good screening unit because it's like 2 up. Come get it.
Yeah, that's why I like them, is because if you fail your charge, then you just have an amazing screen.
Yeah.
In front of
right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can fail your charge, but if you get it, then hey, it's bonus. Or
fail your charge, then you have a screen.
Or even if you put them back, right? Like let's say it was the same situation as before. You put them back, and they're standing there, and it's like, okay, do I go back and deal with them and go away? You could use them to pull your opponent's army away from where it wants to be. Like,
yes, exactly.
I think the uses for them are so deep. I really like them. But okay, is there anything else that we want to highlight as good in the new GHB, or better than it was when the book came out?
I mean, I got to give a shout out to what's the Far Striders unit. If you're in a Hammers of Sigmar army, I still love the little Far Striders warband. It's basically a Vanguard Hunters unit. It's a Vanguard Hunters warband.
Okay.
It's like, I don't know, 90-some points. It's very cheap as chips. And it's just a fantastic utility unit. For example, Owen Jackson has been running it in his Reign of Stars list, which I don't know if you've seen this, Erik. So it's a version of this was around in 2019 and 2020 on TTS during COVID especially. But so first off, on the Far Striders, they're basically, Rob, just a utility piece, right? They help with battle tactics. So they come in wholly within 6 of a board edge.
And are they from Underworlds?
Yeah.
They're
on the Griff Chargers or whatever.
No.
Oh,
they're a part of that chamber, the Vanguard chamber.
Right.
But they're the battle line of the Vanguard chamber. With the bolt pistols. Double-handed bolt pistols. Yeah. Okay.
Now I'm there.
So Far Striders. Anyway, I think it's a great little utility unit. Like side piece, help with battle tactics, help with objectives, annoyance, etc. Cheapest chips. But yeah, Owen's got which maybe just a shout out real quickly on this whole Reign of Stars list, which is quite neat. Erik, you might find this intriguing. So it's Star Drake, right?
Yeah.
He's got a slot which has got his excellent shooting attack, like 4 shots, could be 2s and 3s minus.
It's changed. Mortals, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a shooting profile. It's like 4 attacks, 2s and 3s, or 2s and 2s if you all out attack it, minus 3 Ren, 2 damage, 30-inch range, like a really amazing shooting profile.
Whoa!
So you got that output. He puts a Slant Starmaster in there with Comet's Call.
Yeah.
We all know how, and he's getting a +1 to cast from the Star Drake. So that's pretty reliable with the Slan, who's got, I believe, a built-in +1 to cast.
+1, yeah.
And so that he's there especially for delivering Comet's Call and potentially the Everblaze Comet that he's got as well. Then he has a Celestine Prime on top, dropping his Comet. So he's got Everblaze Comet, Comet's Call, the Star Drake shooting, and then Prime times Comet Strike Scepter. All of that Mortal Wound AoE output, plus a unit of 4 Fulminators, and 2 units of 5 Vanquishers. I think that's the list, but he's been doing really well with it. It's quite cool.
Yeah, I had something similar to that with except with a Knight Judicator as well for his
nice
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's fun. And then you throw a wizard with Lightning Blast. That's the D3 mortal anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's the spell from the Stormcast Eternals, right?
Kind of similar to that. That one with the Star Drake and the wizards. It's kind of similar to that.
Definitely, absolutely, yeah.
It's a thing. I think especially with Galatian champions running around, be close to units, so everything's clustered together, and I can see it.
I watched on stream. He played, I think it was game 2, LVO stream, and he just annihilated a Seraphon list just with his AOE damage. All those comets and just tearing through Bastiladons, and it was gross. Like
that's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's an aggressive mortal wound bomb. Like.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, speaking of which, you could, I mean, if you want to go nuts, you could get like 5 Vexilors in your list. I've actually seen some people doing that, just dropping, because they have a banner that you can drop, once per game, D3 Mortal Wound Bomb. I think, Erik, it's like a 6-inch radius, something like that, anywhere on the battlefield.
Yeah. But then they kind of do, that's it.
That's it. That's all they do.
Yeah. Well,
they do that thing.
Although, wait, so it's D3 anywhere on the board?
You pick a point anywhere on the battlefield, I believe.
Yeah.
There may be a limit. We may want to, Erik, you want to care, maybe check. But it's either 24 inches or it's anywhere on the battlefield. And then I think it's a 6-inch radius, and every enemy unit within 6, it's D3 mortal wounds.
Jeez. I mean, that's that has vibes of old Goutfire Scorch Skaven battalion where you pop up and like the whole thing is like if you can kill them with enough mortal wounds, then you win the game, and if you can't, you don't.
Right.
But
within 24.
Okay.
Within 24. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he just does it. There's no rolling. Like that's.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 5 Vex, says Robert. A Slan, an Everblaze. I mean.
Yeah.
That sounds delicious.
Sure.
I wanted to ask about Griff Chargers, I think they're called. The
Paladors?
Yeah, the Paladors. So
the
Ride the Winds Etheric has changed. It's not 7 dice anymore, whatever the heck it used to be. It's like you just teleport them essentially, right?
Right.
They've never been the best, but they're a lot of people's pet unit. I know Rob Taunts really likes them. Do we see play with them because of their ability to teleport in this new meta?
Erik, what do you think about Pallies?
I don't know. I think if I wanted something like that, I would probably take Lord Arcanum on Griff Charger myself.
Yeah, okay.
Have a guy that can do it because he can do other stuff.
He can do other stuff too, and they do that in the movement phase. I'm almost positive where they move.
Yeah, their shooting isn't that great. I don't know. I've never really cavalry shooting units. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't really understand the point of that in this game, so I don't know. I just don't see it. I hear that Tempestors are good. I don't know.
I'm a fan of Tempestors in the right list. Yeah.
I can intellectualize it. I just
oh, right on.
Feel it. It doesn't feel like something that would work for me.
I gotcha. No, yeah, Rob, I really wish. I mean, they're better than ever. Not necessarily saying a whole lot. I mean,
it says a lot about where they were. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. They are usually, in my experience, when trying to write a list with them, right? So there's still 200 for a unit of 3 or a unit of 5? They are a unit of 3.
Yeah.
So 15 wounds, 5 wounds each. They're 200 points, which again, it's getting about to where they should have been originally. I don't know if that might still be too high now. They're in the slot of a hammer. In my experience in your list writing, and they're not a hammer generally.
Yeah, not really, no. I agree with that because I have played against them a lot. Keith was saying they do count as 2 each on objectives, which is there's something like to be said for that, I guess.
Right.
You could put like your tiptoe on, and take it.
6 will get you over a lot of 5-man units. That's
something.
Well, and they do have the shooting, so that you can ride the winds. Can you shoot? I think you can shoot after you ride the winds with Erik, right?
Yeah,
You just can't charge or something, right? So you could theoretically put your toe on an objective and shoot them off, and so
You'd have to have the javelins, I believe. I think the Bolt Storm, the 40k weapons that they're rocking, I think are only 9 inch reach. So you'd have to have the javelins.
Got it. I see. Okay. Well, even the javelins. I know Taunts was rocking that, and it hasn't gone well for him so far, but maybe now.
Sure. I mean, if you really want to be a special snowflake and go to a tournament, that would be amazing to try to make a pure Vanguard chamber list work.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 6 Paladors, 6 Long Strikes, 3x5 Vanguard Hunters. Maybe leave the Lord Aquilor at home because he's literally one of the worst War Scrolls in this book right now. But
yeah. Okay.
It's a little rough though still, I think, for the role that they need to play in a list.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I think we've done a pretty good job covering what you guys like. Is there anything else that you can think of that's like really should be talked about, or do you guys think we've covered it?
I got one last thing.
Cool. Okay, let's hear it.
It's a meta choice.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you play against elves a lot, so you're playing 15 bow snakes, you're playing 30 sentinels.
Yeah.
Prosecutors to eat Unleash Hell are a good.
Yes, there you
go. Okay. Can you explain that?
They charge 3d6, and they fly, so you can drop them down, charge 3d6, eat the Unleash Hell, and then your fulminators or whatever can get in and do the job without dying on the way in.
Okay.
And the ones with javelins have a 3-up save, so maybe they don't die.
Okay. So
maybe they live.
Sorry. So prosecutors, 1 unit of 5. They're the old, like they're AOS 1 launch of Age of Sigmar guys with wings, right?
The wing guys. They're super cool. Wish they were good. And I keep trying to find ways to make them work and do something.
Yeah.
But I think if you have like a meta problem where you're like, I just can't, what am I supposed to do against Sentinels with my Fulminators? I can't charge them. What am I supposed to do? I think you add, for 100 points or whatever they are, you can add these guys into your list, and they'll eat that shot, or realistically probably make them not even bother.
I love that idea. And then not only that, but like, let's say you're not facing Sentinels, you're not facing Bow Snakes, they still drop down and charge 3d6 to get onto objectives.
Or they fly 12, right? So they're a mobile screen on a 3-up save, which is pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. How fast do they move?
They move 12, and they get the 3-inch coherency as well. So,
and they're 5 models, 10 wounds, I assume.
Three models.
Oh, 3 models. Right.
Only 6.
Okay. But I mean, for 100 points, they eat the Unleash Hells that you don't want to take, and
I think that's their main function, is to eat an Unleash Hell, and so I think have like a meta problem with that, then you could put those in your list, and maybe it would deal with it for you.
And you could also re-roll the 3d6 charge in the unlikely event that you could make them pretty reliable for that purpose. I like it a lot. Is there anything else? Do you have another outlier, Tyler, that you wanted to mention?
I mean, so my favorite baby in the game is the Celestine Prime.
Yeah, I love the
Prime. So I would, as always, love to just do a request for more Stormcast players to play him in your list. I get it. He's not optimal.
No.
He's a pain in the ass sometimes. He'll disappoint you.
Can you explain the Celestine Prime though? Like what?
Sure.
Because like you're already too far down into the meta of it that I actually don't know what you're referring to. Like.
Yeah. So Celestine, I mean, do you want me to start at like the characteristics? Like
maybe just like explain what he does, what he's for. Yeah.
Okay, sure. All right. So Celestine Prime has 8 wounds, a 3-up save, a 12-inch move.
Wow.
He has the Warhammer, Galmaraz.
Yep.
Which does not have the profile that the Warhammer should have.
No.
We'll just skip ahead.
That's true. It also doesn't make demons good again or whatever it's supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah.
It is 3 attacks starting out, 3s and 2s, -3 damage. Now for each battle round that you keep him off the board, you add 2 to the attack characteristic.
Right.
I believe, based on the new core rules with the 3rd edition, you are required to bring him in on round 3.
Or
I'm pretty sure that's the
by
case.
round 3, right?
By round 3.
Right.
Yeah. Because essentially anything you put in reserve, unless it specifically states otherwise, must be on the board by round 3, or it's counted as slain according to the core rules.
Yeah.
Okay. So he has a Common Strike Scepter. You pick a point on the battlefield within 24 inches that's visible. He does D3 mortal wounds per enemy unit within 3 inches of that point. So that's nice. He can be part of a mortal wound AoE barrage. You could bring him in some cases round 1, like Owen does periodically. It's just matchup dependent for Owen with his list. Most times you see Prime come in on round 2 with 5 attacks. When he comes in, he has his Celestial Orrery ability, which allows him to change a dice roll to whatever you want. And because a charge roll is 2 dice, you can make it an auto 12 charge.
Which is usually what happens. It's usually how people use him, from what I experienced. Yeah.
100%. Now he has 7 new words in this latest edition of the Battle Tome that have made a huge difference to his survivability, in my opinion at least. Which is this unit has a 4-up ward save.
Yes.
A 4-up ward.
So huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you can just, like, 4-up is so swingy that, like, I've had it against him where he saves everything and where he saves nothing. And it seems to be one or the other.
What I love about him is if you were particularly like a Johnny player, if you love kind of like nuance and finding the angle shooting and setting up combinations and thinking turns ahead and just looking for the angles, right, on how you can optimize something that's considered crap by the larger community, Prime Time is your baby.
Yeah.
You can find ways to put him in the right spots, to try to think ahead about how you're going to use him in this turn and next turn. The fact that if he can survive, which again is often on you to optimize his chances of surviving based on where you place him, he's a 3-up base save, and then when he's on the next turn, when he's on the board, you can find a Stour him with a 4-up board and 8 wounds. Like, he should not usually just fall over. And you don't want to just put him into something that he's not going to kill that then kills him in return. Like, you got to be careful with him, right?
Yeah.
But he has an auto threat range of 24 inches when he's on the battlefield.
Wow.
I've just found him to be amazing. Yeah.
So
my only problem is that he needs 1 or 2 more attacks. That's my problem with him. Is that he'll go into like a Stonehorn and get it down to like 3 wounds and then get murked, right? Or he'll go into like a dragon and get it down to like 4 wounds.
Right.
That's the problem I have. He can't kill the big centerpiece models that I want him to kill, and that's what I have a problem with him. Generally speaking, is he's like just shy of killing those like Amok Russia, that kind of stuff.
Well, also
so on that, Erik.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, the other thing too is if you want to get him up to his max attacks, you have to not play with 300 points of your army until battle round 3.
Just part of the fun of it. Right?
It is cool. Right. No, I love it.
That's part of the challenge.
The Prime used to be my favorite model in all of Stormcast. Like, I know he's chunky and whatever. I just loved him, though, for some reason. I love all the guys with the angel wings. Like, I just loved them. But then the dragons happen, and I love dragons. But putting that aside, the thing is it's more Johnny. It's cooler to just spend. The problem, though, is that, like, isn't the battle decided by turn 3? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
so I said earlier that
15% of your army.
Stormcast, at least with how I've built, I'm curious, Erik, if you have difference of opinion, but how I've built Stormcast list personally, one thing I love about Stormcast is you can play a combined arms army that plays in all the phases. It's very, it's interactive. You're doing a little bit in each phase. But number 1, you can build your army to be a 5-round army.
Yeah,
it's not designed to destroy your opponent in round 2. It can give, I think, a fuller games I think it's a good expression of kind of the social contract nature of this game. Like, a lot of my games with that Thunder Buddies list were very close because the list is generally designed to play close games.
Yeah.
And it catches up late. So with Prime, what I found is that you really have to build the list, ideally in my mind, where he does not have to be on the battlefield until round 3 because of the nature of the list that you've built. You've designed it to try to opt. Now, sometimes you can't quite do it. You can't quite get there. You need him in round 2. But in a lot of games, and we bring him in around 3, right? And he's got 7 attacks for up to 3 rounds. He has, done yeoman's work.
I mean,
You've convinced me. I'm going to run him next game. I promise.
Love it. Excellent.
It's so sick. It is like it is the ultimate big dick move too.
Yeah, he's like an annihilator that works.
Well, and Josh pointed out.
I'm gonna yell at you if you fucking send him into a Stonehorn that's got 16 wounds in round 2.
Turn 1.
No combo damage, and you got it. Yeah.
That's fair.
Oh
That's
man.
fair. I will take the abuse.
I love both of those things, though. I love someone not doing it, but then I also love people like Carson who turn 1 sends their Stonehorn into the back. I've got a battle report coming out this week, and I don't want to spoil it. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen in any battle report I've ever made. It's the Stonehorn versus Neferata.
Ooh.
And it's wild. And anyway, it's super fun. Josh, before I forget, Josh pointed out that the Celestine Prime's ability, and I think you knew this, but you might have said it something different. His ability of the Fates is once per turn.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah. I think you might have said once per game. I'm not sure.
Oh, did I?
So he was pointing that out too. And then
no, absolutely. Which is, we were talking about Celestial Warbringers. That's one reason why Celestial Warbringers gets interesting with Prime, right?
Oh, wow.
Because he comes in and you use the auto 12, but you then still have a reroll, which helps him get those attacks to push through, even on the turn that he comes in. But then when he's on the battlefield, you go into the next turns, right? Now he's got 2 shots.
And he's rerolling a save.
Yeah, you can reroll a save and auto set a save to 6.
Oh, man. Oh, that's so sick. That's true.
So it's like there's a number of layers you have to think about with him, but there are ways of really making him shine, I think. I just
so cool. I love it.
It's cool. 300's right. I think that's the right price point for him.
I agree. Yeah. I think he's right in the zone where he's one of those things for distinguishing players. You know what I mean? Like if you're not using him well, then no, he's not worth 300 points.
Right.
You can say that about anything. Opie said amazing difference 1 or 2 attacks can make. He can't imagine a Vermin Lord without Devious Adversary. Yeah, for Deceiver or Warbringer, absolutely.
Yeah.
He says a question for Tyler. If you do some quick mental math, do you think the melee attacks gained from staying off the table for 2 turns is more than the splash mortal wound shooting would have been? That's actually a really interesting point.
That is an interesting question. Yeah, I mean, it is quite possible that could do more work in aggregate, but not necessarily delivering the capacity to have the burst damage where you need it when you need it, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like, it's kind of a trade-off between... I want to do that. That's a great question. I've never done it. I'll check the math after the show. I love that question. But yeah, the difference between doing more in aggregate versus having the capability to deliver the burst damage when and where you need it. Yeah. So it could be a bit of a trade-off. And the other key piece that I found with him is that, as often with Stormcast, as I'm sure, Erik, as you found, is it's about setting up combo damage plays. Yeah. It's like Long Strike plus Fulminators, Judicators, Bastion plus Prime. You're looking for those combo damage executions. Yeah.
Yeah. Breath attack. I always forget about the breath attacks on the track. And then I just took 4d3 mortal wounds. Oops.
Right. That's a great question, though.
That was a really great point. Keith is good for that. And then he also said, so the Celestine Prime is an onion, has layers, and will make you cry. I thought that was...
This is true.
Both tears of joy and remorse, sadness, pain. Yeah, it's the full gamut.
And then Beefy Crunch says Team Tyler for the win. I don't. And then
it's a Vincent Venturella thing. You can just ignore that.
Nice. I mean, I do remember the T-shirt contest and you cheering for Tom, fun. Which
shout out.
Oh, nice. There you go.
Yes. Yeah.
Look at that.
Little product placement.
Fantastic. How are they? Have you tried them?
I haven't used. I've just used the white gray, and I've been wanting that color forever. So I'm really excited about the white gray.
Nice.
Yeah.
The blue gray. Sorry. The really light blue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, I wanted all the paints in Vince's thing, but they were sold out before.
Blue.
There you go.
That's my favorite one.
Nice.
I really want there's like a light or dark jade in there that I really wanted.
Yeah, the dark jade is quite nice. I got them all right here. They just came yesterday.
Yeah, and like I wanted all of them, and then there was one that I really wanted from John's paint section. I think it's a magenta, but
Yep, dark magenta from his is really nice. Yeah.
But our local store, Magic Stronghold, actually carries Pro Acryl like in the store. They carry everything, so I unfortunately they didn't they sold out before I got to buy them directly from Pro Acryl, so I got to wait for my local store's order to come in, but I'm eagerly awaiting them. Okay, I think we've really run the gamut here.
Sure.
But before we go, are there any like units now where you're like, this is trash now? Like
Terrible.
anything you want to like just trash on? I'm down for it.
I think we've got a candidate here, Rob.
Yeah, and Annihilators, I think.
Yeah. Annihilators with grand hammers, specifically. We kind of already talked about them a little bit, but is there anything you guys wanted to talk about them?
I mean, obviously, there's a whole bunch of Hero War Scrolls. I mean, in the book with going on 80 War Scrolls, you're gonna have a lot of misses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's there's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. Venador is a big miss. The Exorcist. Sorry, Erik.
Yeah, he's good. I'm grasping.
Lord.
He's a lord. Something.
Right.
Thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So a number of the heroes are just terrible and will never see the table. They're kind of obvious. Yeah.
On foot.
Oh, we're getting a bit of an echo somewhere.
Oh, weird.
Maybe it's gone now. What were you saying, Erik?
Oh, just saying the Quester and the Heralder and the Celestine on foot.
Yeah.
Oh, weird.
Yep. All of those are rough. Aquila, I mentioned, one of the top 3 worst War Scrolls. Gabrielle, terrible. Neve, Black Talon, pretty terrible. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of bad War Scrolls, but definitely like I said, the bench is deeper now than ever, which is quite cool. Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah.
That's the one, hey.
I think it's an exciting time to play Stormcast. I really do.
Yeah.
Like
I agree. The points changes were a big deal, I think.
Yeah.
If you were going to sorry.
Yeah, you've got a lot more like I said, the Sacrosanct Chamber is a lot more interesting now. Sequitors, Evocators, Kiddicators, even hell, the Castigators. I'm really interested in trying them out. I don't know about reinforcing them, but a couple. They remind me of an Ether Wings unit slot in, right? Like Ether Wings are now 70, Castigators are 90. Castigators are more durable. Castigators shoot. Ether Wings don't shoot. Yeah. You can there might be some play there.
Wow.
Yep.
So,
if you guys were going to make a recommendation for the next Stormcast book, what would you say? Like, how would you do you think they should eliminate War Scrolls? I guess is really what I wanted to ask. Do you think they should start getting rid of some of these things because it's just too big to manage, or just leave them in and then just kind of see what you can do? Like,
yeah. No, I don't think you can take away models that people bought in the last 5 years. That's kind of how I feel about it. I just don't think that they'll pull War Scrolls for things that people bought.
What about stuff that they bought like 8 years ago, like Lord Toots?
Yeah, I mean,
or 7 years ago.
They could call some heroes, but I just don't see any reason to. It seems like they've just taken the ones they don't want in the game and just made them so bad that no one would play them.
Yeah.
Right? Like Gabrielle and a few other ones where you're like, what is this even? Like, what do they even do at all?
Yeah.
Like Marauders in the new Chaos book. Like, they obviously just don't want you to take them.
It's true. I mean, I always feel like if it's a hero, you can always just say, okay, this guy is close enough to this. I'm just going to play Lord Toots as Celestine Prime. Or I don't know. Like, I don't know what actually... Not Prime. Sorry, not the Prime. Not the Prime. You know what I mean, though? Like, one of those other guys that, like, you just... I don't know. I can't really tell the difference between, like...
Yeah. I don't think they can cut stuff, but I hope that they keep the next release to a dull roar. I hope it's a minimal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so big now. And I feel like they're kind of starting to like did we? I don't feel like we didn't even need Annihilators with Grand Hammers. Like, what's the difference between a Retributor and an Annihilator with a Grand Hammer? It's like,
Yeah.
like I think Retributors look freaking awesome too. Like,
They
I
do
think
look
those
really
models
cool.
rock.
They filled up well. Yeah.
Yeah,
They look great.
but
Yeah.
even,
I mean, it's kind of a cop out, but the short answer that comes to mind is give us a Slaves of Darkness treatment. Slaves of Darkness was my favorite design battle tome of last year. I love that book. It has some misses, but yeah, I thought they nailed that book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the flavor, the variety. Yeah. If
the
they
banners, I love the
banners are
banners.
so cool.
Oh
Yeah.
God, like you said before, unique enhancements.
Yeah.
Banners and holy commands are the coolest things, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, anytime you get I really like having like I want to have more armies with unique monstrous actions, unique just add more of that. You know what I mean? Like the one that the Mangler Squig gets in the new book is it's the same as the Stonehorn gets. It's just worse, right? He's on a smaller base, so like there's play there obviously, right? But it's so rad. Like, it's just so cool to have your own thing that you get to do. Or like giants, for example.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
I think we've really covered it. Is there anything you guys want to add at the end here?
I mean, we didn't talk a whole lot about how they play as an army.
Yeah.
Like, Erik, do you have any high-level thoughts on that? Like, how you found how do you play Stormcast to win games?
I've been playing against them for kind of the first time recently, because normally when I play Stormcast it's against someone new, whereas I've been playing a more experienced opponent recently.
Yeah.
And them having half their army off the board is terrifying, because you don't know where anything is, and you have to like screen your whole army for the whole game. It feels like
it does.
Yeah.
And so I think playing into the you don't know where I'm going to be and I have options is, I think giving yourself options and making that obvious to your opponent that you have those options is really good. And so I think that there's a lot of like mind games that goes on with Stormcast. Which I think is pretty fun. But that's all related to Scion, so I don't really know what a Stormkeep army would be like.
Yeah.
But I like the mobility of Stormcast between teleports and ons and stuff like that. I sort of feel like
it's a very dynamic game. Like they play such a dynamic game.
Yeah.
So.
And they play in all phases, which is something that I love. Like, that's really important for me. Playing all phases, I think that's really good.
One of our newer guys, Ken, he's gotten into the game a few months ago. So we've been playing a little bit, and he's been playing Fire Slayers, which was given to him. And he told me something that was really cool to hear. Like, so I was playing that Bastion, Prime, 10 Judicators, 10 Protectors, etc. list. It's a good list. It's not the best Stormcast list one could put on the table, but it was really nice to hear him just say, like, how intriguing he found that list plays. Like, the experience of being across it, he's like, this is a very dynamic, fascinating list. You've got Bastion, you've got Prime, you've got the Judicators that shoot, you've got these very durable unit of 10 Protectors, you've got Liberators, one of which is coming back with Call for Aid, you've got these amazing utility heroes, you're all over the board, you could deep strike. It's like there's a lot of elements, right, that are going on. So I don't know, I've always found Stormcast, particularly when it comes to combined armies, they often play the game beautifully to me. Like they give a good experience all around, generally speaking. And they save stack really well. That's one of their strengths. I think a lot of armies can lean into that and they're one of the best save stacking factions in the game, along with probably Slaves of Darkness now.
Yeah.
They're very interesting in terms of thinking about tempo with games. We've talked quite a bit about that, right? How you'll often find you get down on objectives early and you have to catch back up late. So I think that's an intriguing element in how they play. But I don't know. Yeah, I find them fascinating for beginners, intermediate, and advanced players.
Yeah, they're a good poster child army because I think they do everything that the game is capable of doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so true. Yeah. And they have because they have such a breadth of units, you can find something that you probably like aesthetically. You can probably find a way that you like to play. If you really like shooting or whatever you said, like they can play well in every phase. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Like if you're failing 7-inch charges, for example, you can.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, what your play style is. If your play style is to fail those kind of charges, then that's good.
Totally.
I mean, that's good for you, Erik.
Yeah. That's my style. I invented it, actually.
Yeah. Regularly failing 7-inch charges.
Yeah.
And then eating Unleash Hell when you do make them.
Yeah.
No, I love it. Keith was saying earlier that, Tyler, you seem to be enjoying the non-prepared schedule style of this podcast. It's so funny.
It's only 12:30 a.m.
Yeah.
We've got plenty more time.
Yeah.
I'm off the leash. Keith.
You're off the leash. Yeah. And then
Tyler out.
What was it? Josh was saying, like he was also saying about Stormcast with the Grand Hammers dropped and wiped the Chosen. But yeah, you got to make that charge, as Erik was saying, right? Like that's part of it.
Tim Protectors love munching on some Chosen, in my experience.
Yeah.
10 Protectors versus 10 Chosen. I've been liking particularly if you hit that 9+ charge when you come in, because you put them off the board, you come in, they have no way to turn off Unleash Thy Hatred. I did 20 mortal wounds, Erik.
Oh
my last game against 10 Chosen.
What the crap? Wait, why? How does that?
Eight
Chosen.
You got to screen your Chosen. Yeah, exactly. 8 attacks from Star Soul Maces. 4 Star Soul Maces times 2 attacks because of Unleash Thy Hatred. And if you just, roll insane, 20 mortal wounds.
That's madness. That's awesome.
That is madness. I love it.
-1 Rend doesn't go very far against Protectors. Yeah, they could potentially pop off on their mortal wounds on 6s, right? But you're going to do a lot of damage before they have a chance to fight twice. So
yeah, that's a bad Chosen, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's so cool to hear about those kinds of, like, what do you call it? I mean, I guess it's not like a counter per se, but it ended up being a really solid counter. Alex is saying he loves how Erik was crapping on a 7-inch charge, and Tyler is talking about what he does in 9-inch charges. But they were both talking about how, like,
statistically proven. I don't know what's wrong with you.
He makes a 9-inch charge more often. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm not joking.
Yeah.
9-inch charges, in my statistical experience, are easier than 7s. I don't know what to tell you. That's just the world we live in.
Yeah, it's like when we all have our thing too. It's like, for me, it's like if my opponent rolls, if they roll I try to roll before them for the turn now, because if they roll a 2, I'm thinking don't roll a 1, don't roll a 1, and I always roll a 1. It's so annoying. It's like I just have to beat a 2. It's so easy, right? Or even tie it sometimes, but it's what always happens.
We'll have to do a whole other show on the school of dice rolling. There is a school of dice rolling.
There is, and
a lot of YouTube bat rep channels fail miserably. And I don't know what my grade is for you guys, for what it's worth. I need to pay attention to your dice rolls more closely. But oh my God, some people don't know how to roll dice.
Okay, no, 1 second. What do you mean by that? Do you mean like we suck at rolling the dice? Like our rolls that we get are bad?
This is where people are going to think I'm literally insane. I mean, I'm convinced. I am literally okay, this is like my one version of superstition in life.
Is dice
primary
rolling.
Version of superstition in life. All right, is that it is a real thing that some people, the way that they roll dice leads to statistically consistent worse dice rolls on average, and some people better.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right, you're part of the cult too.
No,
I love it. We need to start a petition. We need to get this going.
Yo, I used to watch, this is crazy, and Erik actually has his own theory about dice rolling. It's so wild. But one thing that I was noticing, I would comment regularly, is I was watching during AOS 2. I didn't enjoy AOS 2 as much, and I was really into 40k 8th edition, and I was watching a lot of tabletop tactics, and I kept getting after B-Bone because he rolls so poorly, so consistently, right? And what
B-Bone
he does
is the flag bearer.
He's the flag bearer of this. Okay, so if you roll poorly regularly, right?
Yes.
What you cannot do is you cannot pick up a bad dice roll and then roll it quickly. You have to shake it for as long as you can possibly stand to re-randomize these dice. There's something about when you pick up a bad dice roll and roll it again, you're rolling it the same way and you'll just get the same number. I swear to God. Like I now consistently just keep shaking the dice, right? Yeah.
Erik, are you on board?
Yeah, I think all tables need to have like one of those bumpers, you know, so you have
totally
a dice tower.
Yeah.
That should be like a rule.
My secret weapon is this IKEA dice tray, IKEA closet tray that I found years ago because it's like a craps table with felt. It's amazing. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, there's definitely people that roll poorly, and then some people that roll specific, like if they roll one dice, they can.
Right.
Yeah.
I know what it is, you know. I need a 5-up. Hey, I got a 5-up every single time.
I consistently roll one dice poorly, and I think it's just my mind like going to that. There's something there. But Erik actually has a really interesting theory about dice rolling, where if you talk about how poorly you're rolling, actually, why don't you explain it?
I think it's just about your attention. It's just what you're paying attention to. If you pay attention to your bad rolls, then you have bad rolls, and if you pay attention to your good rolls, then you're having good rolls.
It's like a self-actualization kind of
the secret.
Yeah, the secret, exactly. Like Erik was talking about how he tries to only talk about his good dice rolls, and then it just seems to get better. But
it's certainly very good practice for a YouTube channel to not which we've talked about that, Rob, before.
Like
that's one of the things YouTube channels. It's a cardinal sin complaining about dice rolls on a YouTube BatRed channel.
And you know what's funny is I don't normally care. I truly don't. And that one battle report, I had brought Kragnos for the first time, and I just wanted this Timmy moment for the viewers where they got to see Kragnos go into something and completely destroy it. And then Andy was like stepping on my throat. He was just like, oh, like if I redeploy, then there's no way you're just going like, you're already winning. Like I was thinking like, you're already winning. Like you've already won this game. I just want to kill Ilariel or do something with this guy. And so I was just like, I just wanted something fun to happen. But it was just like, oh man, it was so brutal. But since then, I'm just like, you know what? Like, it doesn't matter. Like the worst thing I could do is call out that I'm rolling poorly. Like it doesn't matter how poorly I'm rolling. And like if my opponent calls it out, that's fine. Like you know what I mean? Like against Dale, I rolled so freaking bad with my Leviathan going into his gits, and I didn't say anything, and I was just like, yeah, like you know, there you go. Like this is what happens. And I was just like, you know, like you played that really well. And he's like, dude, you rolled really poorly. And I was just like, yeah, well, you know, like that's what happens. Like it's a dice game. And anyway,
for your own health, you should not be allowed to go within 6 feet of any warp lightning cannons. Just for
God, you saw that last one?
Oh God, yeah.
The first cannon blows. The second cannon blows up, and then the third one blows up. And then what was really nice is that there was people in the comments going like, "My God, you handled that well," and I was just like, I mean, those are warp lightning cannons, baby. Like you should have seen me early on. The first, I don't know how many games, I lost every single warp lightning cannon until Darren, who was in the chat earlier, he literally yelled at me. I was doing a practice game for his wife Veronica, going to a tournament, and I lost my like second or third warp lightning cannon the first time I shot it, and I had those old Skaven dice, and those roll a lot of ones, and so he's like, stop effing using those goddamn dice or whatever. He's just like yelling at me, and I'm like, okay, I guess so. I guess I'll stop using them. And then it drastically changed my luck. But you know, I mean, I love warp lightning cannons still, and I'm still gonna use them. Like they've won me. I mean, I beat Matthias in our what's it called, Skaven Civil War with 3 warp lightning cannons. I genuinely believe that's why he started using 3 warp lightning cannons. It's just because he's just like, what the hell? Like, what are these things doing? But
right, well, I've made this show go off the rails successfully.
Okay, anyway.
So maybe we can.
Really appreciate you guys coming on. You guys are both such great at analysis of armies of the game. You think about it at a deep level. Always wanted to have Tyler on since the beginning. I'm glad we finally made it happen. Thanks to you both and everyone who we actually had a very consistent amount of people. This is the longest show ever. Congrats, Tyler. Normally
the champion remains. That's good.
And it's not even close. This was crazy too. This is like,
you guys know I had the first episode, Warhammer Weekly. Was the longest episode of Warhammer Weekly.
Still?
At the time.
That's wild.
And when I came in to help out with Tom, I bumped up the the madness.
Yeah.
I went back and I figured out the average link time of Warmer Weekly shows.
Yeah.
And I got that average up. It was like 2:30, and I literally got it up to 3 hours for a while there.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. That's
20% increase
yeah.
across the board. That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, if like it probably is extending the average view time of the person too.
Yeah.
So that's a good statistic to bump up. Like YouTube cares about that stuff. But anyway, yeah, Alex is someone we should probably talk about at some point in the future about how not to roll dice. But
True.
yeah, well, thanks again to everyone who stuck with us with this fantastic show. Yeah, there won't be any show tomorrow, but there will be one next week. I'm hoping to do the Gits review next week, so you guys can hopefully look forward to that. I forgot to mention at the start, Erik doesn't really do social media, but Tyler's link to his Twitter I actually put it down ahead of time. It's in the description. You got to follow him, Scrubby and Wells, on Twitter, and check out Warhammer Weekly. They do fantastic content, very well thought out each week. But yeah, thanks to everyone for watching.
I have one shout out real quick.
Yes, please.
The Stormkeep on YouTube channel. They just did a really long video as well. I just want to give a shout out to those guys. They did a great breakdown as well, the Stormcast. If 3+ hours isn't enough, everybody should check out. Yeah, that's as well.
The tier list one?
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that was a really good video. Yeah, I would recommend it as well.
That's a great call.
They have a nice 20-minute summary.
That's a great call. And if you do happen to be here, the painting phase, I think it's called, our local group has just gotten.
Oh yeah, Painting Phase podcast is great. I'm really into it. Peachy, his new thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He gives so many like details about like sorted stuff that you would never hear about in any other form. We've been enjoying them. So yeah. Any shout outs from you, Erik?
No, just Painting Phase. Peachy rules. That was great.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks again to everyone for watching.